Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 118 here on Election Day, Tuesday.
Election night.
Okay,
Results are rolling in.
Rolling in here on November 8th, 2016. Pretty intense night for the country. Is that a fair way to put it?
I know people don't really want us to talk too much politics.
Of course
so
not.
We're not going to. And that's not what we're here for. Just give a quick update. Yes, it's really dramatic right now. There's been a couple of things. We're looking at, it's 9 o'clock Central Time. And right now, it's leaning Trump, surprisingly. So we'll keep everybody kind of up to date. I know you're probably here so you can not listen to election results. So we're going to kind of leave it at that until anything crazy comes in.
Or something more official. There's not going to be anything too official tonight, is there?
Well, yeah, by the end of the night, probably by 11 or 12.
Okay.
Maybe when we're in our, just when we're starting the after show.
Yeah. Well, so welcome, everyone. Thank you guys for joining us. Somehow our audio stream or one of our streams kicked in a little early, like 20 minutes ago. We have no idea how that happened. So if you were here, you got an alert ahead of time. We apologize, but we're glad you're here. I think probably the most important thing that's happened in our country is the Cubs victory last Wednesday.
That was pretty big. That was intense as well.
Yeah.
If you thought this election was intense, last week's ball game was kind of intense.
It was. So
I didn't stay up to watch it.
No, well, I know because you're, what do they call him? Hater. That's all right.
Not at all. My mentality was, I went to bed in the bottom of the 10th with one out. So the Cubs had just scored 2 runs in the bottom or the top of the 10th. And I texted you, I said, I'm going to give them one out because if they don't get somebody on base with one out, I'm just going to assume it's over.
Because nothing in this series has happened with 2 outs or more, or 2 outs.
Quite literally, the very first out was a ground ball. I believe the shortstop who threw it to, maybe it was the second baseman, who then threw it to first base. And I just texted you, I said, night. I turned it off. Because my thought was it was going to go one of 3 ways. I was either going to... No, get this.
They were going to win or they were going to lose.
No. It was going to be... I was either going to miss the greatest comeback in World Series history, which I didn't really care about because I had no skin in either team. So I was like, I can watch whatever crazy happens tomorrow. They were going to tie it up. And then at that point I figured I'd be locked in for more innings. If they tied up, then I have to kind of sit and watch more innings. And I didn't want to do that because it was already getting late here in the Midwest. Or I was not going to watch the Cubs win. And so I just decided I'm going to save myself the extra 10 minutes to 2 hours of bedtime. So I
hope that paid off.
I'm just as good as I am now as I would have been if I had watched it.
Well, congratulations to myself.
You had so much to do with it.
I do every year. Every year because I have so much to do with it.
A month ago, you couldn't have named 2 Cubs.
Yeah, no, I could have. You asked me to name one, and I did. I could have named more.
I don't know.
But it doesn't matter.
But I know you're a Cubs fan, and I would never give you that.
Pretty cool.
Never take that away from you.
And it's funny enough, to bring this full circle back into disc golf, I was actually at the annual Wisconsin Park and Rec Association trade show and convention, and that's where, and this happens in almost every state for those that aren't aware with them. Almost in every, I'm guessing most states. I don't know about all 50, but I'm guessing most states. Each year, or maybe they do it biannually depending on the state, but a lot of them around here have an annual show where park and rec directors and people that work within either the parks department or recreation department, sometimes those are 2 separate departments. A lot of times, at least in Wisconsin, those are a singular department, all under the same umbrella. Mm-hmm. And they get together and they have continuing education classes, and they have breakout sessions, and they have roundtable discussions, all these amazing things that various people within, there's everyone from foreman and grounds crew of baseball diamonds all the way to coaches, and then everyone that works in the office. They're very frequently at these shows, and then they have these sessions throughout the entire week. Well, in Wisconsin's case, there's a 3 to 4, I think it's a 4-hour window where it's dedicated to nothing but trade show vendors.
Oh, cool.
And this is a show that Wisconsin Disc Sports Association has been going to since the late 90s, and ever since I've been doing disc golf full-time around 2002 or so, I've also been one of the guys that's been at this show almost every single year, year in and year out. And it's truly I feel like it's the single most advantageous times to getting more courses put into the ground. Because we're seeing, especially in that 3 to 4 hour time block, and again, some states have longer, but we're seeing the people, usually the decision makers, that are actually talking about implementing different things in their parks departments. I mean, the guy next to me might be and this year there was actually a soccer camp that was next to me, but the guy next to them could have been the people that are selling fencing for baseball diamonds. So I mean, there's all these different vendors, all these different activities and or products and services that can be sold out there. There's people that offer software packages to park and rec departments for signing people up for things, all the way to someone that will build you the proper dock for your beach or whatever the case might be. So this is a show that I look very forward to every year.
And it's safe to say that if you're a golf promoter, disc golf promoter, you should look for this in your state. If you are someone that wants to get a course put in the ground that maybe is, go to, whether or not it's a specific course, this is a good place for you to get leads. It's a good place for you to maybe make contacts in the future. So when, the county next to you wants to put in a disc golf course, they have your name and number. Whether or not it's competitive in your state for course designers or not, just to have your name out there is an advantage.
Yeah, it certainly can be. And in Wisconsin, we have the situation where it's the Wisconsin Disc Sports Association. So collectively, we work as a group. At the end of the day, our end goal for having any presence at this, it used to be more so about how many courses can we get in the ground. And that's transitioned as we're now, nearing 300 courses in Wisconsin. Not that we're done, but one of the main reasons that I enjoy being there is knowing that whether it's me as a designer or any other designer that we work with, it's all about getting good designers that will do a safe job to get the courses in. And that's what's so critical to me. We're not fighting so much to try and get a course in every single plot of land anymore as we maybe used to be or wish we were. It's more about, like, I'm just there to be a resource to make sure that very good courses are being installed, and those are what are going in the ground. And I'll say, we used to go to this back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and people would look at, these park and rec people would walk by you and be like, oh, it's an interesting looking garbage can, or that's an interesting looking deer feeder, bird feeder. I mean, there were a lot of different barbecue, whatever. There was a lot of different things that people can be confused as they looked at a disc golf basket. And now it's to the point where, like, oh, good, you're here. You're in my 2-year plan. You're in my 5-year plan. Or, hey, I see you every year, and the year the city finally gives me money, we'll come and get one installed. So we're very fortunate in Wisconsin, and I think some of our progress and a lot of our success has been predicated on being at a show such as this. So it's the Wisconsin Park and Rec Association, WPRA. We have a national show, and all of our major manufacturers are usually there in terms of the basket manufacturers. Scott Kesey and DGA are there. Innova's been there. Disc Golf Park has recently been there. I believe Discraft has had a presence there. So a lot of our major manufacturers are already. Dynamic Discs, I believe, was just at the most recent one. So going to the national show obviously is just that. It's bigger. I've been to a few of those myself. I like knowing, because when somebody comes up to me, I love knowing when they say, oh, I'm in such and such city, and 9 times out of 10, if I don't know the city, I know at least what's next door to it. Or I may know the course, or I could say, oh, you're in such and such county? Oh, yeah, well, the nearest course to you is such and such. Yeah. Usually I can pull that off the top of my head, and then we can say, okay, well, I can say, oh, yeah, that course, go 10 minutes away, you'll see one course. Go 20 minutes away, and you're going to see a not-so-good course, and I'll let you do the comparison. There's a lot of things we can draw from in referencing all these courses that we have. So it may not sound exciting to you guys, but I feel like it's one of the single most important days. And I'll wrap up this year. I'll give you guys a quick review that there wasn't as many new conversations as I've typically had in the past, and I'm okay with that because Wisconsin may be slightly slowing down. We're nearing 300 courses, and people people know the culture of disc golf here. We're
Yeah.
very fortunate. I don't think you could say that about some of the other states where they're still either growing or there's plenty of room for growth. In Wisconsin, I think we've helped cultivate this really safe course design mentality, and we have a number of professionals that could be called upon on any given project. So we're fortunate in that way. But it was I didn't talk to as many new people as I normally do, but I'm okay with that because they know where to find us. They know, we've had a presence. We've been a staple at this organization or at this trade show, and they know where to find us. So that's pretty cool. But that's kind of what you see. So when people talk about growing the sport, I feel like this is one of the single most important days in Wisconsin or possibly in your state's immediate growth is having a presence and or being at working at those. A few times I've given presentations as well, which is also really empowering because that's when you get the chance in front of a dozen or 24 park and rec directors, and you can say, okay, here's some good things about courses or course design, and here's things you really need to stay away from. It's exciting. I don't know why I'm so excited about it all, but
No, it's good to be. I mean,
it's really good stuff, and I enjoy being there.
It definitely is.
Uh,
And I'm going to let you do this. We should probably talk about the slightly sad news. That's not slightly. It's sad news tonight of Steve Dodge's grandmother passing away. And I've been there twice, and I met her both times. And she's a wonderful lady. But I think you had a little bit more personal communication and interaction with her than I did. So.
Yeah, just today, Steve Dodge had put on his Facebook that his grandmother of 103 years, she turned 103 recently.
That's pretty amazing in itself.
It certainly is.
And would still beat us all at Candlepin Bowling.
Exactly, and that's the thing is interacting with her and seeing her. She always wanted to give you a hug. You felt like if you were anywhere within arm's reach or even within sight of her, you always wanted to give her a hug. She was always out to give hugs. When I give her a hug, I felt as a breaker. I mean, she's so small. And yeah, and so as she was walking around, we've seen her involved at the Maple Hill Open, Vibram Open, whatever he's called, Marshall Street Open, whatever he calls it this week. You see her out at the property. And so obviously our thoughts and condolences to Steve. As he said on Facebook, though, she had 103 great years, and he knows that everything's going to be all right. And she was just such a shining moment. I don't know if I can send this to you quickly or not, Johnny. I have what I thought were one of my earlier years of being there. We had gone candlepin bowling, and that's something that many of you have seen or kind of heard about throughout the years. In terms of this special kind of bowling that takes place over, I think, really on the East Coast, or I think that's where it's most prevalent. And it's a smaller ball, and you have 3 of them in a given frame. And to score like 100 is actually considered to be a pretty good score. And sure enough, Grandma, who gets up there with this lightweight, smaller ball, quite frequently would beat everyone else.
Send it to me, not to yourself.
Would beat everyone else on the lanes on any given night. So it was always kind of fun to see her shine in all her glory on Sunday night anytime the Maple Hill concludes. And in just a moment, I'm going to send Johnny here a couple pictures. I believe these were from August of 2011, maybe 2012. We were at the event. We were at Candlepin Bowling, and both Paul Uliberry, who I think we're going to have on a little bit later, both himself and I got some pictures with Grandma over at the bowling alley. I think you're seeing those come up on the screen now. And so that was when she was the fresh young age of 99 or so, 98, 99, somewhere in that neighborhood. So great, yeah. And Paul Uliberry getting a little bit of love and some hugs from Grandma. And so... Again, amazing woman, and you just see all the love that takes place when you go to the Maple Hill property. You see Steve Dodge and then his brothers in town and all his nieces and everyone else that's on site, and the entire family operation that everything has been. And his mom and his grandma have been out parking cars and doing all this other stuff. So it's yeah. So, sorry, Steve, but as you said, Grandma's going to be okay. And she said, I don't want to misquote. Steve said had asked her a couple years ago or recently as to what if she had any kind of words of wisdoms or thoughts or anything of that nature.
Yeah.
And she replied, "Love thy neighbor."
Yep.
And he said tonight on this very
divided night where
correct.
There's going to be a lot of slings and arrows thrown at each other.
A lot of continued hate rolling around for one way or another. Steve's grandmother said, "Love thy neighbor."
That's right.
So, great words to part with. So, all right. There hasn't been a ton. I mean, we certainly have lulls. We all know that. We have lulls in the disc golf season. And this last weekend was definitely a one of those. We're going to continue to line up some guests, and we're going to have a great quote-unquote off-season here where we're going to have solid guests throughout. But this last weekend was definitely a little bit slower. We saw the A tier, which then I think was switched to a B tier, or maybe I was confused from day one. The Sharktooth Open was taking place in California. That was presented by Legacy Discs, Steve Rico and Bomba and the whole crew over there at Legacy. And it sounds like it came down to a battle, a pretty heated battle. Did you see those results, Johnny? Or should I
sorry, I was just logging into something else. So we're talking about the Sharktooth Open. I do know, I saw that Drew Gibson had made a post about how basically it ended, but I'll bring up the results. So it came down to the last hole. Drew Gibson got an eagle to win, to beat Steve Rico by 1 stroke. So it came down to first place was Drew Gibson at 141. Next was Steven Rico at 24 under par, shooting a 142. So that's pretty darn close. Very last hole. An eagle. I mean, how do you compete with that? I don't.
I don't know.
I've never had an eagle. I don't think I've ever had an eagle in my life. I don't know.
I'd buy that for $1, but you haven't.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I ever fairway aced a par 4, and I'm trying to. It doesn't register particularly, but I may have. I don't know. But in general, yeah, that's a pretty crazy. Because I'm not. You and I aren't driving par 4s usually. If we're getting them there, it's probably a throw-in. But not Drew Gibson, who can clearly throw a mile. So congratulations to Drew, Dynamic Disc team member, taking out Mr. Legacy himself, Steven Rico. Taking third place was Kyle Ekman, shooting 19 under par, followed up by Nick Newton, which was 12 under par. So congratulations to you four on taking the top 4 players. Winning Masters was Patrick Brown, handily. Advanced was Raymond Hernandez. And there were no open women from what I see. So no turnout for them.
Yeah. And a question asked on the board was, will we have Yuli on? He reached out to us a little earlier. I believe he's going to be joining us. It might be a little earlier than normal since we're not locked into a specific designated guest tonight. So we may have him on a little bit earlier than we usually do, and we'll get through Yuli's picks. In fact, I'm expecting tonight to be a little bit shorter overall.
That's good. I want to watch election results.
Yeah, you do.
I know.
Is that... Tell me what's exciting about it, because you have no
I have no bearing in it.
No bearing.
No,
like
it is to me. I'm a political junkie. I love, for the past year and a half, I've been paying attention to politics. I've been podcasts and news and this and that, and it's just a culmination of that. It is watching in general, like today, as much as everybody voted for somebody different, I felt there was a really good kind of, everybody was like, hey, I voted. I did my civic duty. Whether or not you voted for the person I agree with or disagree with, whoever that person is, I felt like today was a really good day. And tomorrow might not be that day. But I just think I enjoy watching results come in. I enjoy watching these people sometimes watching them try to just draw things out because they have nothing to talk about for an hour at a time. You get the results, and then usually you have to stall for an hour. You bring in these analysts.
Yeah, it sounds like
I enjoy it. Every 4 years, it's kind of the one thing I sit down. I usually have a drink, sit down. I've been doing it since as long as I can remember on election nights. And I remember when I was really little and my mom yelling at me to go to bed, and I just wanted to sit up and watch election results. And part of that was I didn't want to go to bed because I was a kid. but it's been since then, and I don't know why I get such a kick out of it. I just do. I like watching. I like hearing people talk about it, all that good stuff. So don't ask me why. I just do.
Okay. I mean, I understand the significance and importance of it. Do not get me wrong.
Course.
I just don't know if I'm enthralled as much. I mean,
no, I get it.
They color a state blue and put a number by it. Color another state,
and I understand. I totally understand anyone that people that say that. Like I totally get it.
Speaking of elections, although he wouldn't wait for us, even though I have no idea. It
wasn't exactly I guess he was a one person he elected.
Of course, I'm alluding to Ricky Wysocki. Finally, I'm going to call you out, Ricky. Finally, you said you were going to select like last week. So since you didn't want to do it on our show, I'm going to give you a hard time. Ricky Wysocki finally selected someone for Team Saki Bomb, and it was announced today. And even when he said that, he's like, well, I'm going to announce it today. I said, well, you should do it on our show. Anyway.
And you said, Terry, I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, he announced recently that he has a female. He's got a male in mind for tomorrow, or maybe he's still sifting through them, but he has a female, and he said someone from Ohio in Rebecca Cox is
nice.
now part of the female team Saki Bomb. So congratulations to you, Rebecca. But awesome. I guess there's really all that we can say about that. Maybe at some point we can get some info from you and we can learn. I think I've met Rebecca at a big event. I'm trying to remember which one. But nonetheless, excited for her, excited for whoever the male will be tomorrow. He didn't really ever specify in terms of like exact rating or division or anything of that nature. He didn't have any of those specifications on there, but he said he got a ton of video submissions. And I know Paul Ulibarri said that he was going to try and get a video in, and Dana said that he was going to. So he definitely, if those guys really did that, he's going to have some tough decisions to make.
Yeah, he really will.
As to who's going to be on part of Team Saki Bomb. So congratulations, Rebecca, and I don't know, little home state love there, Ohio. I mean, I don't know, might have been a little favoritism, but I'm sure more than rightfully earned and deserved for her. So congrats. Kevin McCoy is out on the board, taking in the action.
Oh, what we didn't talk about at all, which broke literally the next day, was the leaked PDGA document.
What?
What? Yeah, there was.
Did you find that on DigiLeaks?
DigiLeaks.
DG.
And Kevin McCoy made me think about it. So because he's on the board.
Okay.
I'm going to try to pull up the document, but basically there was, the document had about, I'd say 30 to 40 possible rule changes that were going to go to the board and have more discussion, and nothing's happening this year but this document somehow leaked out. It was on Conrad Damon. That's his.
Okay.
Yeah, it was on. Somehow it was linked to his website. That's his name, right?
You're gonna get shot tonight.
That's fine. Whatever. Somehow it was linked. Someone found it or something. It was linked on his site. Somehow it leaked, and it immediately blew up. And more or less, there were a couple major things that looked like they were under advisement. One of which was extending the putting circle to 50 meters.
Meters? No way.
It's like
164 feet roughly off the top of my head.
Roughly, yeah. And the other thing under consideration was not being allowed to step past your mini or step past your marker on any throws other than the tee shot, which means if you're at a par 4 or par 5, you have to be very careful about your stepping in order to throw and not go past your mini. And these two particular things...
Your run-up could be the same, but your follow-through couldn't be,
you cannot... you basically can't follow through past your line of... past your, perpendicular line towards the basket. So this document leaked. Everybody, for like the first 3 or 4 hours, was going crazy, asking about it. I reached out to Yuli, and I jokingly said, all right, well, time to work on a different putt this winter, because there goes your step putt. And then the PGA comes out and they basically announce, they say, hey, yes, these are things that we're looking at. They will not be implemented next year.
None of them for 2017.
And we're going to look at them for 2018. None of them are set in stone right now, but they are coming under advisement. So everybody kind of took a nice big deep breath and realized that they were jumping to some conclusions. But it brings up a valid a question. Do you think that the step putt is going to be a thing of the past? Because that's really what I think that's what this boils down to. This is the PDGA trying to take out the ambiguity of people step putting or jump putting and saying, "Oh my gosh, that disc left your hand a quarter of a millisecond before you left the ground," or however. And I think this is a way for the PDGA to say, we're done with this argument. We are going to just eliminate that option. Do you think what do you think?
I mean, I think there's a lot of challenges that are made in terms of people saying, I think that's a falling putt or not. And this could be one avenue that could be taken to try and just simply eliminate them. And if that's, their motive, whether it's explicit or implied, if that's their motive is to, then inherently take away that ambiguity, as you said, or that possibility of unsure. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's crazy. What somebody immediately had posted saying, well, there was this really exciting, I think it was a playoff that just happened during the previous weekend. There's this really exciting playoff, and so hit a jump putt to win it or to push it or whatever the case was. And I'm like, okay, that maybe they also made 3 other jump putts earlier in the round that wouldn't have put them in the tide in the first place.
Exactly.
I said, will course records be any more safe? Is jump putting that huge of an advantage? I mean, we could argue about all these different things all day long. I'd be interested. I mean, we see, and he's got a really unique form. You see why Saki making putts inside 100 feet all the time
and never moving his feet.
Yeah, or barely with a sidestep. Will it change the game? Yeah, a little. It definitely will. Is it good or bad? I think if it reduces that ambiguity, it reduces that just really gray zone of did he foot fault or not. I can't imagine how many calls or emails. Maybe Chuck Kennedy knows this. Chuck. How many calls or emails come into the PDGA literally on a monthly basis that want to know more about basically foot faults and jump putting and step putting? Because no matter how many times you explain it, no matter how many times you see it, no matter who does what video breakdown or analysis of it, there's always that awkwardness about it.
There is.
Ambiguity is really the best word about it. It's so tough to tell what's really happening and what's not. And I've seen everyone from Sarah Holcomb to Dave Feldberg to Paul Ulibarri and everyone in between make various conversation points about jump putting, and it's clear as mud, as they say. So it would be interesting to see if that ultimately gets taken away. What I find funny is when people say, "Is it outside?" or people are like exciting, like, "Oh, they're excited. It's 34 feet now. I can jump.
Now I can jump putt."
And I don't know. There's a guy in Wisconsin. For the life of me, I don't think he can make a 32-footer, but 34 feet he's deadly. So, I mean, I guess that answers the question there. It's tough to say.
It's all what you practice. That particular little range. If you feel more comfortable once you get outside of, let's say, 20 to 25 feet, giving a little extra oomph to it, that's what it comes down to. Maybe he doesn't have the accuracy standing still, and he needs that extra little boost.
Well, I mean, and even talk about divisiveness. Someone just posted on Smith Factory as the login on the board says, jump putts are okay. It's putts like Yuli and Feldberg that look bad. Well, no, that's the point, is we could argue about them all day long.
Agreed.
As to even our jump putts fully a traditional jump
I'll agree
putt.
with them. I'll agree with them and say that I think a step putt looks worse. Like if you're just watching, if you watch 2 of them on camera and you were like, "Why? That guy's like stepping over," as opposed to someone who jumps over with a fluid motion. It does appear that way. I don't think, according to our rules, they're no different. Like zero. It's hard to tell when the disc leaves the hand versus when the feet come off the ground or touch the ground. So in that matter, it doesn't matter. It does look sillier step putting because you're like, no, that guy's like in front of where he should be. So I'll say this. I think you're going to see an end to the step putt. and jump putts somehow. But the motion, so to speak, of going past your lie on a drive, that's going to stay in somehow. They're going to find a happy medium because, as everyone said, imagine trying to throw a monster Anheuser and not going past your line. Your body just twists and turns, and I'm talking even righty or lefty backhand. Your body spins, and it's almost impossible not to go past your lie.
Well, to generate the power that you really want.
To generate the power that you want. Now
you can do it.
You're just not going to get the same distance. And will that hurt longer courses? Because our courses have been getting longer and longer. Will that change par? On a hole that used to be a par 4, is that going to push it to a par 5 now? And we all know par doesn't really matter, but
the next question is, you've just doubled down on the importance of a really good forehand.
Yeah.
Because traditionally, forehand throwers need or take less run-up. Some
Correct.
don't move at all. And it can be much easier to generate an accurate forehand shot, say to 350, than an accurate backhand shot at 350 without falling forward. I mean, you're going to put a massive premium on forehand throwers at that point. So,
I mean, at that point, you're more or less telling people not have to, but a majority of your shots off the tee are going to have to be standstill. If you want...
Besides the tee, you mean?
Besides the tee, yeah, off the tee. I'm sorry, off. When I say off the tee, pass, not on the tee, are almost going to have to be standstill in order to prevent yourself from doing that. Because you're not going to want to try to generate enough power. You're just going to want to almost play safe and pitch it up. So, I mean, you might be able to take a little hop step and then really, lay into it, but that's going to change how things happen. And that's why I just don't think that's going to materialize. I think you're going to see them say, we're going to look at maybe a 30-meter circle where it's, because as we know, 50 meters, you can't judge that.
No.
There's no way you can look and be like, are you 150 feet or 164? You know what I'm going to do and what everyone's going to do? Yeah, sure. That looks good.
You outside? I don't know, dude. I'm back behind the tee.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, I did whatever. It's too far to tell. I don't think it's a good idea. Now, you tell someone, 20 meters, I think someone could maybe, once we're used to that, we could judge that. You're not judging 50 meters by sight.
Well, Chuck says, I called his name and he showed up.
Chuck.
He says he doesn't get a lot of requests, but and maybe you don't get inundated with them, or the PDGA is what I meant, but just the fact that it's one of the most debatable and questioned moves in all of disc golf. I don't know. I don't know if there's a more confusing or ambiguous or gray. Maybe is the term. I don't know if there's a situation.
The rule isn't gray, but it's so hard to tell when a player is actually doing it.
So I could see that being conversed a lot. Maybe not complained to the PDGA, but conversed possibly more than anything else.
The real question is, how do you? Chuck says he prefers it where if the disc leaves your hand before landing. So if you do a jump putt and you're in midair, if you want to jump 40 feet, let's say you're, whatever, and launch it, that's totally legit. But if you step putt and your foot just happens to hit the ground as you're letting go, that's so hard to tell. So I don't know how you break those two apart, how you make that determination, because you can't almost have one without the other. Jump putts and step putts, rules-wise, it would be very difficult, I think, to write a rule that said one is legit and one is not.
They are the exact same concept that look different.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, you can't say, okay, you can't step putt. Well, I'm lunge putting now. I'm now doing lunge putts.
Yeah, and Chuck says
I'm practicing.
I agree with Chuck. Jump putts and stuff look more athletic. Like when you see someone from 100 feet kind of give a really good jump putt, it looks a little better.
Which is funny because I think they look silly when they do a run up into a jump putt.
Oh yeah.
That looks silly.
I do that once in a great while.
It looks silly.
Yeah, no, but not because I'm trying to make it.
No, I know. That's
those are particularly like, I feel like I'm a little more accurate with a little more power. Like, but I'm not going to attempt to put in. I'm trying to lay up from like 150 feet where maybe you don't have a good throw or something, where you just need to get some power behind it. But you're right, it looks silly. The first time I saw that was Scott Stokely at Worlds in Michigan. He was on hole 18, or maybe it was it's hole number 18. It was the final hole, and he had to run at something from like, I think it was like 80 feet, and he was like 10 or 12 feet back from his lie, and he just kind of jogged up and threw it, trying to make it because he had to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he's ever been a really good distance putter at that point. So he was just really running to hit it. And I remember watching that going, that looked silly.
Yeah.
Especially Scott, who's a gangly guy in general.
Yeah, and I'm going to disagree. Chuck says 3-pointers in basketball are athletic and players run and jump. No, they look totally different, and we're playing they're just two totally different motions in terms of...
So they're different motions, but I understand what Chuck's saying.
I think the look and appeal, like for Stephen Curry to run up, to pull up to the 3-point line and then jump and try to make a 3-pointer looks very different than you taking a 9-foot run up and then going up and then lunging forward.
No, I don't know if he's talking about that versus like a jump putt, just a standard jump, not a running jump putt.
Okay,
but yeah, think about a basketball 3-pointer. You could leap from the 3-point line as far as you can, and then just finger roll it into the basket. As long as you take off from behind that 3-point line, that's still considered a 3-point shot. It doesn't matter if you're past it, but if your foot hits the ground, that's traveling. It doesn't count. So,
all right. Well, needless to say, this document, the document had all these different situations and scenarios, and a lot of them were they not just one-liners. They were bullet points.
Yep.
For the most part. So we don't know the full interpretation of them all. People read into them as they pleased, and some were probably very accurate, some were very inaccurate. But finally, I saw our PDGA board president, Rebecca Duffy, go online and say, yes, there was a document out there. Yes, these things are being talked about. And no, none of them are in any way, shape, or form implemented for 2017. So basically,
and a lot of them,
simmer down.
I have the document up right here.
I guess there is more to it than I saw.
Oh, yeah, because
I didn't read this whole synopsis.
Yeah, this was basically somebody took the document, copied into a Google Doc because the document got pulled. Because I'm assuming that the PDGA didn't want this out there originally because they didn't want to stir up. I don't think they care that it's out, that it's known. They just didn't want it the way it came out. And so somebody,
and like a lot of things, some aren't really meant for public consumption until they're
finalized. Until it's closer to being finalized, at least. Like, I don't think, I'll say this.
Was this in order to disrupt some kind of election? Like this came out just like the week before, but then nothing was really found.
Conrad Comey.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm looking at it, and a lot of some of these are wording issues. Like, change the word from, don't say the word perforated when you're talking about like a broken disc. Like, take out that word. A lot of these are just little things like that. But, there's stance ones in here. These rules...
We should just break down every one of these in a separate podcast.
Each one has a separate podcast?
No. I mean, the whole...
No, I think each one will break out into a separate podcast. We'll have 50 podcasts on this. These rules, I don't think should be changed without input from the community.
I don't know if I agree with that. But
because because you're talking about changing a major rule in our sport.
And that's what committees are for.
I understand that. But do you think there's one day that should be like, hey guys, we changed the rules, no more jump putts. Oh yeah, and the putting circle is 50 meters. We're kind of a community sport. We're self-regulated. We are a grassroots sport. We are a very close-knit sport. I don't mind the decision being made by the board.
With 89,000 members.
Yep. I don't mind the decision being made by the board, but I definitely think there needs to be input beforehand. I think it should be out there saying, hey, this is what we are talking about changing. Give us your input.
Yeah, like a referendum or something. I get it. When there's a major...
It's not binding based on... I'm not talking about a vote with all the members. I'm just saying it should be out there. It should be talked about because there is a chance that these 12 people or how many ever there are on the board... 9 or 12?
I don't. On what, the PDGA?
The PDGA board.
I believe on the board of directors there's 7.
There's no 7?
It's either 7 or 9. It's not 12.
Okay.
It's either 7 or 9.
That they should just be able to...
But they get from a rules committee first.
Correct. The rules committee goes over it, and then I just think I would not like to see some of these major rule changes happen without at least some input from the community. At least from somebody saying, hey... Did you think of everything? These are some things maybe you didn't think about. Let's talk about this, and then have them vote. we shouldn't have a vote. That's why we elect our officials to vote for us. But we elect them so that we can give them their input. We don't just elect them to say, okay, you do what you want. We elect them to say, you are a voice of us. You are our voice. We should have a say in this and tell you how to vote. That's what an elected official is, in theory. So hopefully That's what
Hillary and Trump do for us.
That's right. Though they're just talking about the corporate blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so that's what I would like to hope see. Before this actually goes into any sort of pass-fail, I hope it is addressed again with our sport and our community. That's all I'm saying. Mic drop. No.
Speaking of a little bit of politics, a little bit of tonight and whatnot, speaking of maybe processes, I had asked Valerie Jenkins tonight. I had asked her a few questions, but let me pull it up how I worded it to her. And she had said, she had a great line about that everybody should in fact be playing their own variation of an election drinking game tonight, and that's what just made me think. I'd be curious to know if anyone had those. I was thinking about various things that everyone's saying, election drinking games, but for really to the point that I wanted to get at, which is we saw recently they made a post talking about Bevel Brewing and what they're trying to do and their GoFundMe account, and I think the takeaway, and I'm proud to say I was, I think, the first or second person to contribute to that. I was so excited for them. If you want in on the action in terms of like some of the goodies, because they're giving away various rewards for different levels in which you support them and what they're doing with Bevel, there's 2 months left of that. So that's a little service announcement I wanted to make, that there's 2 months left of it. They kind of just hit refresh on the whole, making sure everyone knows about the campaign, that it's going on. They're out there, they're doing their thing, and I know it's their disc golf off season, and they're ramping things up that much more with Bevel and starting to progress and move forward with their huge plans that they're working on. So if you want to participate, you want to help them out, you want to be part of what they're doing, you can go to the GoFundMe. I believe if you go to bevelbeer.com, Bevel beer, bevelbeer.com, and right on there's a thing that says make a donation, and that brings you to gofundme.com/bevel. So just want to make sure everyone knows it's out there. You get stickers, t-shirts, a Discraft Challenger, there's pint glasses, growlers, jackets, a brewery plaque. So there's all different things that you can be rewarded with if you in fact help out. So just giving a little reminder for the world out there.
It's good, especially coming into the off season. You're going to see Nate and Val probably post a lot more about this. You're going to see them really probably start dedicating more of their time to this now that they're off. Now that they're off of tour. So yeah, give a couple bucks to some good people, to our world champion. Come on,
7 times.
Yeah, and make sure when you give it, write a nice note. I'm glad you have one more than Nate. Just a nice little note, just to remind them.
Exactly. So go out there and participate if you can. Every little bit. It's two of the nicest people we have in our sport, and
for sure,
we'd love to see them succeed at some of the stuff they want to do after. And I think everyone knows and realizes when Bevel becomes huge outside of their playing days and career, everybody's going to want Bevel beer at their tournaments. People are going to be trying to get it all over the country, and they can't do that yet. But when they do, you'll have that little piece in your heart, or that pint glass at your house, or that T-shirt that says, I helped Bevel beer take flight, as they say. So very, very cool. Go out and do that. And I'm going to give a couple other accolades and shout-outs real quickly. And I'll get to more details later, but right now I just want to say Mike Cousins over at Sandy Point Resort and Disc Golf Ranch, that's sandypt.com. They have 27 holes on private property along with cabins you can rent for an entire week if there's any availability these days come next year. But sandypoint.com, sandypt.com, one of my favorite places in the world, Johnny V's as well. We go up there usually twice a year, and I've been going up there for now 20 years. and he's always they're always supportive of what we're doing here at Smashbox, along with the Disc Golf Guy video blogs. And I'm going to have a little special announcement about that in a little while. And I'd like to thank Spinners on the Green. We talk about them obviously when the Memorial rolls around, which is going to be very exciting, of course, next year. But Spinners on the Green, Keith Murray, Dan Ginley, and the whole crew over there, Ashley, all of them. Thank you guys for your support. And again, we'll talk on some of those details a little bit later. But great people, and thanks for the help and the support. Oh, I gotta throw a Keen plug in there, because we've got some Keen stuff in the works.
Yeah. Well, on top of that, I got 2 new pairs of Keen shoes, and I'm enjoying them quite a bit. I wore them all this past weekend out at a little Boy Scout retreat, and my feet were loving it.
Nice.
My feet were loving it. I almost tweeted at him and thanked him, but
you certainly should.
I might.
We've seen what's been awesome about Keen, who happened to support Nate and Val and myself, and now Smashbox. They've been on board with helping out disc golf, and they have so many other initiatives, and they've helped with Keen fundraisers and worked with disc with a bunch of our top players and donated thousands of dollars in terms of disc golf stuff. And they've just been an awesome company, and everyone has their preference for shoes, and even the guys at Keen, think it's great what's happening with Paul Macbeth and Adidas and the rest of those people. Like, there's no animosity there or anything silly, but they've been supporting disc golf for a number of years now, and what we've seen them do with the Pro Tour, and then what I've personally gotten some help from them, along with Smashbox, that's going to continue to unfold here as the end of the season rolls out. So huge thanks to Keen and Keen Footwear. And these were all not necessarily planned plugs, but we got to give thanks to these amazing people.
Again, support the people that support you.
That is very correct. I've got my Keens on right now.
Mine are on the stairs. You walked right by them.
You want to see them?
No.
Oh. We have matching Keens. It's so cute.
Do we? We have matching ones?
Oh, we do.
Oh, nice.
You don't even know it yet.
I didn't even know.
Someone asked earlier today on one of the Facebooks on one of the groups and said, I see that Nate wears tape on his finger, and I see that I think Avery does sometimes too. I'm just curious, is it medical tape? What kind of tape is it? Is there any special strategies? And there's
do they have a tape sponsor?
There's Band-Aid glue, and there's all these or liquid Band-Aid. There's all these different solutions and this and that. And I hated to burst the guy's bubble. I'm like, they don't do it at all for strategy or for throwing. They're brother-in-laws, and it's just like a special little adorable bond that they have. That they both wear tape to remind each other. And Avery's like, yeah, he's right. That's pretty much it. So no tricks there. No secrets.
A lot of people wear medical tape on their fingers to prevent blisters and things like that. But but we know those two. I mean, they have a special high five and handshake. It's really weird.
Yeah, well, when you're brother-in-laws and you're
what I heard.
World champs, that's what you can do. So we saw that out there on Facebook earlier today, which is pretty cool. All right, so let's move into a couple people saying the chat is, the overall turnout listening in live here tonight. I'm sure everyone else is just is consuming this via download later in the week. It's been pretty quiet around here, and it's amazing to see how many people are enthralled with the election stuff. And do we have any updates, Johnny?
Actually,
45 minutes in.
I'll say this. Just breaking a couple minutes ago, Hillary Clinton is taking Virginia, and she took Colorado.
What, didn't you just say, like, literally seconds before we went live that you thought Trump had taken Virginia?
No. I said Trump. My friend and I were talking. Steve, Trump was ahead, but they said Virginia tends to break late because the populated educated areas tend to vote Democratic. And so those are always the last ones to come in because they're more densely populated, so it takes longer to count the votes. Bigger cities always take longer than the rural votes where they have like 400 votes to count. And so Virginia tends to break late. It always looks Republican until the very end when it switches blue. It was close, but like that. So, but right now, it's literally, if you go to 538.com, which is...
that is such a bias site.
The aggregate, where they basically take all the polls and aggregate them together and kind of say, this is close. It's a 50-50 right now. There's a 2% chance that nobody wins the Electoral College.
Oh, wow.
Which is possible.
I was going to say a 2% chance that I win?
No.
Even with my write-in.
The funny part is if nobody wins, it goes to I believe the House gets to vote, and that's probably going to go Trump.
Okay.
So it's crazy right now. I won't say this election is any more important than any other election. It's just a stranger election. So I don't think it's any more like, oh my God, this one is, we're all going to wake up tomorrow and we're all going to be fine. And in 4 years, we're all going to be the same fine, probably. So
I'd watch what you say.
I'm just saying, I don't think it's going to matter anyway.
Somebody's going to kill you.
They might.
All right. Yeah. So more of that's coming in. I have caught a little word here from breaking news here from Zoe TV. Zoe Andike may or may not be available. She is looks like she's been traveling, and she said that she may be in a place with good enough internet connection. So we may get a little update from her yet tonight. So stay tuned. Zoe update. Zotron.
We haven't had Zotron on in months.
We haven't. So,
she's well overdue.
A very welcome guest to have here tonight if she can give us some updates. I did also want to address. I reached out. We thanks to our good friend Dynamite, he had suggested maybe checking with Jay and Des Redding. Unfortunately, they're out of state working on a course design.
Good for them.
However, he did give me this update, so I want to pass it along to everyone. Texas Collegiate Championships with 13 teams. Longhorns win. Spoiler. Longhorns win in a sudden death playoff. Ultra World did a couple of write-ups for details. He said he'd definitely love to talk it up. However, they are in Oklahoma for a course design and a concert. I was going to say, when I got the excuse, like, oh, we're doing a course design, I'm like, you're not designing a course at 9:30 at night. But he says then they also had a concert. And if anyone knows Jay and Des,
they love their music.
They love music. They love local food. They love all of those types of things. If there's two people in the world that make sure to consume every element, every component of being in the tour life, it's Jay and Des. They've written articles about it, so so best of luck to them. But that's the update from the Texas Collegiate Championship. 13 teams, Longhorns win in a sudden death playoff. So pretty cool. Patrick Gordon from Canada says, props to Jay and Des, who came to Ontario, Canada this summer and put on a bunch of clinics, which sounds exactly like them. They do a ton of that and do a very good job of it. And they've been in Wisconsin doing it, and they've been just about everywhere. So very cool. One question that was posed, I don't know if it was, I guess it was a poll. Disc golf poll. Not a pole hole. That's trademarked. I don't think I can say that.
That's a P-O-L-E. This is a P-O-L-L.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I can say disc golf pole hole.
You're going to get us taken off the air.
I'm going to. DGA is going to come after me. Just yesterday, I think I saw none other than Disc Golf World Tour coordinator, tour director,
media director.
No,
and
UC? Is he the media director?
Well, he's the media director. I think maybe he's just the media director of USDGC.
The man in charge,
but he's the man in charge of the Disc Golf
Posted
World
and
Tour.
said, "What stop were people most excited about in the 2016 Disc Golf World Tour, or was it that they were? Let me get it. I don't want to be wrong. Once this year's enough." He had asked, he said, God bless America tonight. I think that's a friendly throw over from across the seas. He said, which Disc Golf World Tour event you are looking forward to most in 2017?
I actually answered, I said USDGC. I think that tends to be probably the most popular one and the one that is most familiar with people.
And closes out the season?
Closes out the season. It's the one that's got the most drama. Kona Piste is a fun one. The European Open is always great because especially if they play at the Beast. But ultimately USDGC is the one.
You are so US, you typical selfish US
xenophobic.
Yeah, absolutely. So he had asked that. And then that got me to thinking, well, okay, 2017's upon us. The Aussie Open is available. And I want to say the registration's been open for about a month. And we all know that's a massive undertaking for the idea of getting over to anywhere for the most part. But January 26th through the 29th. And when I'm looking at, it's the World Tour event, PDGA Major, the question becomes, what kind of participation are we going to see in that? Because that might be the single I'm going to make this up. I'm going to say it might be the single most expensive. There's going to be 3 overseas. So USDGC is not the most expensive. There's going to be 3 overseas. I'm going to guess that the Australian Open is going to be the single most expensive of the 3 that are overseas.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of participation for that PDGA major are we going to see?
For which event?
For the Aussie Open.
Aussie Open, the major.
The one I think that had 29 or 38 pros 2 years ago.
I think you're going to see 67 pros.
How many
over
from the U.S.?
Oh, 40.
Oh, God.
No. I'm sorry, 30. I think 30.
Wait, still way wrong.
You think 30 is too much?
Way wrong. I don't think you're going to see 30.
Okay.
I don't think you're going to see.
I just think that this is.
I'm not sure you're going to
see.
I'm not sure you're going to. I don't know that you're going to see 10.
Really? I just think that this is the second time it's been a major now, and that I think that I think the players are. It's a major, and I think a lot of the players are going to try to.
It was a major last time.
I know, but it was also the first time it was a major, and people were unsure about the event. I think after the last one, they showed how great the event was and how well they treated. I think you're going to see a larger influx of players this year. It's just my thought. Maybe it won't be 30, but I'm gonna be nice about it and say maybe 30.
And I'm not trying to be mean about it.
No, you're
by
mean.
saying, I don't think it's going to be 10. I think it. I love what the World Tour is doing, but I think when it comes to getting world travelers, especially maybe United States travelers, there's not enough for them to be there. I'd say financially. I'll just say financially. I'm sure the experience. I would do anything for the experience,
Of course.
but I don't think financially there's enough. There's enough meat on that bone to go pick at. So we'll see. But right now, I think the registration's been open about a month. Yeah, there's about 11 people, so clearly it's not selling out instantly or anything silly like that. I wouldn't expect it to. Nobody could expect an expensive major right after Christmas or a month after Christmas to necessarily sell out like hotcakes or anything like that. But I'm interested to see. I think that's really the question is, and maybe it's a full month too early to even bring up the conversation about registration. But when it's all said and done, I don't know that we're going to see 10 U.S. players. That's my guess.
Yeah.
Let's check back. Somebody mark the tape, I think they say.
Okay.
Mark the tape, and let's revisit. Give it 30 and then 60 days, and we'll revisit this, and we'll see. We'll see how wrong I am.
I don't know.
Maybe
not.
Somebody on the board says, I've never had a problem being wrong any other time. I don't know when they're talking.
Yeah, no doubt. That's why we never go back and check the tapes. We're never wrong.
And see, I couldn't. I was just out on the page a moment ago.
Someone asked, "Isn't the Japan Open this too?" Is he asking about the Japan Open this year? There is no Japan Open. So if someone's asking about the Japan Open, then there is no Japan Open. But if you're comparing the Japan Open to the Aussie Open, as far as, hey, this is every other year, they treat the players pretty well, it's a little different experience. And not having been to the Aussie Open and having been to the Japan Open, I can't imagine the Aussie Open is as good as the Japan Open. Japan Open is just a phenomenal place, a phenomenal resort. They treat you ridiculously well, and it's quite an experience. And I think it would be a different experience to go to Australia. It could be just as much fun, but I don't know if you're going to see quite the turnout that you see for the Japan Open as far as U.S. players. Because they usually bring in 30 to 40 U.S. players at the Japan Open.
Yeah, that or more.
Yeah.
That or more. I think in the final few years that it's had happened, the turnout was amazing. Somebody is saying that there's currently 4 American centers. Can somebody tell me where this is located? I'm on the World Tour page, and then maybe if I click on Aussie Open, will that? Okay, I might be getting closer. I see the dates.
Anyway, I would love to see
I'd just
the
like to know
Aussie
which
Open.
4, because I think to me that answers if 10 is an accurate number, because I'm guessing the 4 include 4 I would expect to be there.
Yeah, Paul.
4 of my 10.
Paul, Ricky, maybe Nate. I don't know if Nate's going. I'm just saying maybe Nate. He went last time, didn't he?
Correct.
So he tends to be one of those world travelers. I would love to see the Aussie Open be treated like the Japan Open, where we do get a big influx of players to go there. I just don't know if they have that gravitas yet, that pull. So,
okay.
It's under Disc Golf United. Duh. How can you not find that?
Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, good stuff. There was something else right along those lines I was going to lead with. Oh, and then I was going to switch right to the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Looks like we're going to see probably 10 stops. I think that's old news. 10 stops. I know they've added a few cool things to the shopping cart that I've noticed. I think there's some playing cards and or trading cards that they're working on. Some of the new things there. I know Steve Dodge and I, along with Johnny, have had some conversations about live coverage and still trying to push forward and hoping to get live coverage at each and every one of the events. The question is the extent of it and how much coverage and which days and all that other stuff. So all that good stuff is definitely in the works. I thought there was another announcement regarding the Pro Tour. I want to make sure I cover all our tours. Did you have new news on the American Tour?
I called all my sources and I don't.
Ouch. What do the kids say? Savage? That's, I don't know. Okay. Chuck Kennedy says the PDGA calendar is also maybe a place that we could check that out. Okay. Yeah, I'd like to get out there and see what I can find for information. The A tiers have been pretty much released and put down out on the calendar this year. That's definitely exciting news. Now it's the madness. Wisconsin included. I know Illinois. I've seen an email from their state coordinator. Now the madness of B and C tiers that will then continue to flood the rest of the world and come in hot and heavy. Yep. That should be exciting to see as we have events going on to calendars, and we're seeing more events. More than ever, continued growth, and I'm excited. We usually see like an annual growth rate and some of the final numbers from the PDGA, and I think all of them are going to again point to massive growth that took place here in 2016, and I don't see that really slowing down or changing whatsoever for 2017.
All right, we were just sent a link to the registered list right now under the open field. We have only 3, actually, that are registered, but we know at least Paul McBeth's going to be there. So David Feldberg, Rice Kruger, Todd Nowak, and we know Paul McBeth will be there. Oh, I'm sorry. 2 of those are Aussies. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, it just says registered 3 players. So the only American is Dave Feldberg, is apparently what it says. So I'm sorry about that.
Braden Coolidge, our TD from Santa Cruz at the Masters Cup.
He's a master player. So there's Braden Coolidge and Cynthia Whitaker,
which
from
is
the
David
US.
Feldberg's better half,
and Das Loomis.
And Das is out of Kansas City, or Kansas area, and he was at. I think he had some role last year because I believe he was at maybe even all of the events last year as well.
Oh, very cool.
So
those are the 4 U.S. players right now.
So I guess maybe
one
I should
open player.
I should have maybe clarified
Open versus the entire field. It's not going to make. I don't think it'll be.
I was going to say then we'll call it 15.
Yeah, I was going to say give or take 5 to 10 players for your.
I wasn't thinking of someone like a Braden or.
Well, I hope it does get a big turnout. I think.
Of course I do too. What's interesting though, and here's what I didn't know, is. Now I'm thoroughly confused. Maybe we need to have UC on. So it says Aussie Open, and then when I think of that and a World Tour event, I don't think of an advanced field, a Masters field, an advanced women's field.
Yeah.
Is there something we don't know about? I'm just saying, like the World Tour, one division. I think we had that argument last year.
But on the other hand, it's a major.
Okay.
So you would think that, I mean, other than USDGC, most of our majors have Masters, don't they? Have a Masters?
Our NTs don't even have Masters at some of them.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's weird that. I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to get more people, so they offered more divisions.
I'm thoroughly confused. We'll have to check in. We'll have to check in and get some official updates and details.
I don't know. I've just been drinking since like 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Hence, who you voted for.
I voted this morning, so.
Yeah, when you were really drunk. Just kidding. I posted that I voted and put out a picture of a Smashbox disc, and I said if I'm president, you will get a perfect HD streaming from 54 cameras at all the big events, and then captivating, in-depth, flawless post-produced coverage commentated by Morgan Freeman, provided at 10 p.m. each night of all your favorite events, and you'll be watching them on your new 8K televisions that you got from the hashtag Grow the Sport stimulus package that I've, of course, created.
That's great.
And, of course, you will also be able to use your Professional Disc Golf Association membership card as your proper voter ID when you go to the polls.
To vote for us.
So I don't know if people...
I don't know how you didn't get elected. I mean, we don't know.
Somebody said 2020.
The write-ins
2020.
could. I mean, I don't know if they've counted write-ins yet. So
good call. So those are my promises. I had to think of my platform statement. It was a little late. Today was my platform statement, but 2020 isn't that far off, and it may not be that questionable depending on how things go. So I think we've seen crazier things.
we're witnessing it right now.
All right. Chuck Kennedy, thank you, is telling us that 3,100 sanctioned events forecast by year end of 2016. I don't know if you just can naturally apply a certain percentage of growth on top of that to give us 2017. Chuck, I'd love for you to chime in if so. I don't know if that's 10%, 5%, 20%, whatever that number is. For 2017, does that mean 3,500, 3,600? Something like that? That would be crazy. Another one, John Jacob Jingleheimer Smith chimes in with, love Smashbox. You should
have a Lego character made out of you because you look like a Lego guy.
That's a super huge compliment, right?
I don't know. Lego guys have skinny bodies, but
Yep.
they got that big fat round head.
I was thinking I had such a jaw with such striking features.
No.
Or a chin that squares off nicely because it comes all straight.
Well, you keep eating. You can work on that big fat face.
All right, I will keep. So I'm not sure, but I'll try. I'll see what I can do there. All right.
I reached out to Yuli, and I have not heard back from him yet.
Ooh.
But whether or not I said, are you ready soon?
And I'm going to see if we've gotten any updates here from none other than our... Let's see if I can take a quick look. See if we've heard anything from Zotron, who has not replied. So I don't know if she's still on the road or working on it or whatever the case might be. Bobby Brown for Terry's PR guy. That's someone asked who would be my running mate.
It'd have to be me because I'd really be the one running everything.
I don't know. Rock Searle jumped in and volunteered.
He'd be good too.
So
I know my son asked me. He's like, "Who would you like to be president?" Who? And I'm like, I mean, as much as I don't want the job, I think I do a good job because I'm the only person I probably trust.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep, that would be great.
But I don't want that job.
You sure?
Yep, I'm pretty sure I don't want that job.
So let
No, we really gonna get into this?
Well, if somebody came to you in 2019 and said, you know what,
we're gonna put $100 million behind you to try to get you to.
Okay, sure. I was gonna say
that's
or
probably what it would take.
Or if they just said, you're a shoo-in, we're gonna put you up. We're gonna put you up, and we'll just say all but guarantee the job for whatever reason. I know this is La La Land.
Sure.
And would you say, yeah, I'm up for that?
Sure.
Okay.
If someone were gonna hand me that job,
mm-hmm.
I would say yes. It's a crappy job. It's a stressful
you get to do
job.
all that golfing though.
Yeah, it's a stressful job, but I think so because everyone probably says that. I know I'm a good person, and I think I make smart decisions, and I think I know smart people that could make even better decisions than me. I would get them in there to back me up, but I don't know anyone in the corporate world that can corrupt me yet. But I am buyable, so do not think that I am above being bought.
You are definitely. Well, let's get into buying
for a free pair of Keens.
You sell out.
I'll sell out.
You
like
roll over like a
puppy.
Here's what speaking of buyouts. I'm going to make a plea for some money. Now, on a serious note, I have committed. Now, I think I'm officially kind of announcing it here. I have committed that I'm going to go to the Phoenix Ladies Open taking place this weekend. The heavens have not opened, or the gates of hell haven't opened. No one has thrown any crazy money at me. I feel like it's an event that needs to be covered. I feel like it's I've mentioned before, I feel like that amongst a handful of other events are kind of on the national should be under a national spotlight for exceptional women's disc golf or women's only disc golf events. I've now had the pleasure of being at a number of them, including the U.S. Women's Nationals for a number of different years. I've now been to the Rocky Mountain Women's event, which is phenomenal. I've been to just before Masters Cup. Now it's all of a sudden blanking on me, out in Santa Cruz. I've been to all of these amazing events, and the Phoenix Ladies Open seems like one that needs some exposure. So I'm going. And sometime tomorrow, you're going to see me try and throw some stuff online in order to help support what I'm going to do. I want to go there. I want to film. I'm going to get in probably super late Friday night. I want to get up early Saturday. I want to film as much action as I can all day Saturday. And Paul Ulibarri, I think he knows this now, is going to, he does now, is going to pick me up from the airport and help me out a little bit. And I just want to get there. I want to cover the event. So if you or your business or your company or anyone want some representation either in the video or some shout outs or whatever, certainly reach out to me. I'm flexible. I mentioned them earlier, both Keith Murray over at Spinners on the Green right there in Scottsdale or Mesa area, right off the Vista course, along with Mike Cousins over at Sandy Point Resort, have both already said they would like to contribute to the cause. They want to support the women's disc golf that we're doing. So yeah, that's the plan. And I could go there and lose a whole bunch of money and not even have expenses covered. And if that is what happens, that's what happens. But I would love a little support. So if you or your company, your tournament, whatever, we could find a way to represent you within the video blog series before and after and whatever, let me know. So I think that's my official begging for people to
nothing wrong with
support women's disc golf. Yeah, whatever we can do. So I want to get there and get this event documented. So that's the number one thing that I'm focused on. I'll be leaving Friday night, getting in super late. Yuli will pick me up again, filming all day Saturday, and then hopefully filming some additional fun stuff even on Sunday. And then I come back on Monday. So that's the plan. All right. Reach out if you're interested. And super excited to get out to Phoenix for the event. Any updates from Yuli here that we need to worry about?
Nope.
Should we just start talking about points here soon?
Sure, we can bring up points if worst case scenario, if we don't get them on tonight, we don't get them on tonight. I did do the points were so
close,
garbage.
Well, they were close. Understandably so. I mean, in terms of I don't know why
we all got 3 points.
Yeah, the three of us picked the same three of the same people.
Yep.
Just none of us hit them in order.
Correct.
Which is funny. And then we all picked, call it a dark horse or a random. We all picked a fourth person, none of which paid off for us either. Right? I mean, that's really the way you look at it.
Yes.
That's where we could really, really differentiate.
That was.
But we were all just one spot off.
We were, because like I said, the winner came in as Nolan Grider, followed up by Miles Seaborn, then Eagle, then Casey Wright, and then Eric Oakley was fifth. But Eric Oakley doesn't count. I just wanted to bring him up because he was the one I had picked for fourth. You had Landon
in fourth,
who ended up
in like 10th, tied for 10th.
Landon Knight, yep. And then Yuli had Chris Pepperling. Oh, I just put Pepper. Oh yeah, there it is. Pepperling.
Who finished in a tie for 12th.
Yes, and
So your dark horse was the closest dark horse.
Correct. And he's, Eric Oakley is not that much of a dark horse. He's a good player who's been out on the road a lot doing what he does. So yeah,
he earned you 0 points.
Correct. Our fourth person on the Zelzer, Oakley. Yeah, so we all just picked him in the wrong position because I picked Eagle to win, you picked Eagle to win. And then followed up by Nolan.
Yep.
And then
I had Miles at third.
Yep. Whereas you and I both had Miles at third. Yeah, because our top three were the same, and we just picked
Yeah.
the fourth. And Yuli had them mixed up.
He had the same three, but in a different
Yeah,
order.
because he went Miles to win, followed up by Eagle, and then Nolan. So, I mean, this just goes to show you that this particular event, we knew who was taking 1 through 3. It was just a matter of what order they took them in, and none of us nailed it. None of us
and
picked
funny
them.
enough, though, look at the shakeup in that final round. If you look at the scores, because I had originally looked at the scores after 2 rounds, and I'm like, okay, here we go. Look at where things are.
Yeah,
There was
Eagle.
a major
There was a
shakeup.
9-stroke swing between Nolan and Eagle.
Exactly. So Eagle went into that final round with a lead and then actually gave it away. And then here's what to follow that up, and I'm not going to start any disc golf drama, but here's
Start it.
No, I just saw Eagle posted. I don't know if it was Sunday or Monday. I think it was Monday. He said plans have changed. I'm not going to be in Texas for the next weekend.
Yeah.
For Piney Woods.
Yeah, I saw that.
And obviously, I immediately thought injury. When I see a guy slip, give up ultimately 9 strokes to lose the event,
I mean, it's a 967 rated round. I mean, that's way out of his average.
Yeah, and not even going to probably count in his overall scoring.
Correct.
And I don't know if, I mean, he could have had a death or an injury in the family. Anything's possible. He could have had re-injured a hand or a finger or whatever. I have no idea. I didn't check in. But immediately, and then when you see him then say, okay, he's not going to be there the next weekend, then one starts to think, okay, well, maybe there's something, by that morning wasn't clicking or something had, come down or something. So certainly interesting how it all shook out. But ultimately, as you said, all of us got 3 points. And pretty funny how that all worked out.
Yeah, again, you could flip a coin 3 times and not have it land like that. So... so we each got 3 points. That puts our point totals no different, really, than they were last week, where you have me by 11, I have Yuli by 3. So,
and just to clarify for those at home, that means I have Yuli by 14.
Yeah, yes.
I just want to throw it out.
Okay,
there.
just want to make
time
sure.
and date stamp that right here.
Yep.
On November 8th, that I have Yuli by 14.
And as Kevin says, Nolan has been a top player in Texas for nearly 20 years. I mean, again, we said it last week. I've been hearing about him since he was like 16.
Yeah.
So, no doubt that he is always going to continue to be one of those top guys until he decides to either move to the Masters field or the Grandmasters field, for all I know, how long he plays in that division.
Yeah. So,
and I think next week we're just going to do the Piney Woods Open. That just makes sense. It is pretty much the biggest event out there. There's the Spike Heiser Border Wars Champion, which is an A, B, but I believe that all the cachet is behind the Piney Woods this year. I'm looking at the event, the entries for the Spike Heiser one, and you've got 5,000 rated players, of which we're going to pick the same 3 and maybe a 4th.
I'm good with the idea of moving over to the.
So I think the Piney Woods is the one that we're going to pick next week. It's already in the sheet because I kind of picked it earlier during the show, and it has 6,000 rated players. It has Eagle in there right now, so if he's not really
don't
playing,
tell Yuli. Don't tell Yuli.
If he's not really playing, then we're going to pull him out, and he'll have 5 as well. But I think we'll all pick the same 3, and then it'll be a matter of the 4th one again. It's just a matter of what order we pick them in.
Yeah, well, anything's possible there, so we'll see. We'll have to get those picks submitted during the off week or off time or whatever, something like that. We'll see if Yuli chimes in. Maybe I'll get a little personal update when I see him this weekend, and I rub it in his face that I'm still 14 points ahead of him. Out on the board, there is a conversation going on talking about Bradley Williams versus, say, Nolan. And I would say this, as Johnny just alluded to, if you're newer to the game in the last 5 to 10 years, you're certainly going to know Bradley Williams' name as one of the most prevalent and dominant names in Texas. There's no denying that. Mm-hmm. However, if you're looking at the overall longevity of when Nolan's played.
Oh, sure.
He's got a longer
record
span there.
Right at this point in time in history, Bradley's probably a better player. It's just Bradley's more frequently on tour. He plays more often. He has more variety in the courses he plays. He's probably a better rounded player. Bradley clearly wasn't playing. Mm-hmm. Nolan is no slouch. But Nolan does have that history of, you could go back, like you said, 20 years, and you're like, oh, yeah, there's that Nolan Greider kid. he's winning open events now in 2006 or 2004 or whatever he came on the scene. So it's only 10 years, not 20. But yeah. So ultimately, that's a hard. I was gonna say it's a hard question. If like right now if both players quit playing, who do you rank as a better player?
I think
it's so. I know it's hard, but
it's going to come down to era.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more of era than anything. Because
like if right
there's
now they
plenty
both
of people across the world who have no idea who Nolan Greider is. But if you're in Texas, Nolan Greider.
And there's a lot of people now that do know Bradley because of his wins this year and the extracurriculars. So I don't know. I think I probably slightly put my thumb on the scale for Nolan just because of his longevity. Now, you talk to me in 5 more years after Bradley, when Bradley's finally off his suspension.
Whoa.
Just kidding. When Bradley's off his suspension and he's played for 5 years, that could be a different story.
And if he continues
to
on the
dominate
streak and
that he's doing.
Yeah, the way in which
to
play the way in which he has. So, yeah, definitely crazy. Sorry, I just came across the post on Facebook. Taking full advantage of the election tonight is Mrs. Schuster Latricia saying, if any of you become upset with tonight's election results and decide to leave this country, call me. We'll get your house sold quickly so you can move to Canada or any other country of your choosing.
She's a real estate agent?
Yes, she is. I love it. I absolutely love
it.
That's
great.
Stephen Story, our Piney Woods TD, says, I will tell everyone I know. So strike while the iron's hot. Isn't that what they say? Perfect. You definitely should do that. I love an opportunist.
Yuli says it'll be at least 30 more minutes for him. So I told him maybe not this week then, depending on what happens, if we're going to get Zotron on, because there's really not a lot more to talk about, to be honest.
No, we really don't have a lot for you. So sorry if some of you are going to be disappointed that this is going to be one of the shortest podcasts that we've ever had.
Shortest in a while.
At least
and we'll do a little bit of after show probably.
So,
is there anything else that we're missing?
Well, no. It looks like I've gone through most of my notes. We've talked about Bevel Brewing and GoFundMe, and then Spinners on the Green, Mike Cousins and Keen. I wanted to thank all of them. They're awesome. Ricky Wysocki. Ricky Wysocki. He said he's going to announce the male winner on Wednesday. The female winner was Rebecca Cox, and I believe I saw on the board someone with a similar login. I don't know if it was her or a family member said something like Ricky has actually never even met her, but that I did in fact meet her at an event, which sounded very familiar and sounded about right. So, but Ricky had chosen her without ever meeting her. So clearly, one thing I would like to see, and maybe this is great for other contests, I'd love to see her winning submission, and hopefully Ricky posts it. Hopefully she gives him permission to. I'd love to see her submission. I'd love to see the men's submission as well.
Mm-hmm.
For what ultimately won it.
I hope he does release that.
Yeah, I think I would love to see it. It'd be great. Bobby Brown has chimed in on the board. He's Terry's PR guy. He must have caught wind that they were talking about him. That he should be on our That's funny for a lot of reasons. I think we can wrap it up because again, I don't have a lot else in the world of disc golf. I'm super excited to get to Phoenix to cover the Phoenix Ladies Open event this weekend, and I'll have more to report on obviously as that concludes. It will be interesting for me. I think we talked about it briefly last week, or maybe I talked about it with just Yuli, to see Vista in the non-Memorial XL layout. They're not going to go across the road for those 6 incredibly long and challenging holes.
Yeah.
And so there'll be a much more traditional. If you went out to Vista 50 weeks out of 52 in a year, this is more along the lines of what you would see at the Vista Del Camino course in Arizona.
So they're not...
There's 18 holes.
Yeah, I know, but...
They don't stretch it out. They don't need all that extra length and challenge that's found on those thousands and thousands of feet.
They don't need them. Not for this event. So
that's what's going to be interesting to see.
Which is good because those holes don't set up for most women.
Well, exactly. So that was one thing that
it's a shame
I came to the conclusion of. But
they don't get to play the downhill over the water, which is I think my favorite hole on that particular course.
Yeah, which traditionally hole 8.
8, 9.
9's the really long downhill over
Okay.
water, but 8 is the shorter downhill over water. That one?
Yeah, just to the Circle Island green.
Yeah, that's 8.
Around the trees. Yeah, I think that's my favorite hole out there. It's not tough. It's really nice and pretty, and just a darn good hole. So it's a shame that they won't get to play it, but I understand you can't bring them all the way out to that side of the course if you're not playing those other holes.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't make any sense. So yeah, that's what we're gonna see. And excited to be out there. I don't know. I haven't checked the weather yet. It's probably going to be a little warmer. We're finally cooling down here in Wisconsin.
We are.
It's probably going to be a little warmer than what I'm used to in November.
Well, let's wrap this up.
All right, I'm good with that. It has been a pretty straightforward night. So we'll see. Final update here at 10. The last one was 9:48. It's 10:25.
All right, you want a final update right now?
Any official or final updates that you can give us as of this timestamp?
The futures market has dropped 650 points from the Dow.
Yep.
Because it is almost a foregone conclusion that our next president will be Donald Trump. He is favored to win 58% right now. The best bet we get right now is not the best bet. That makes it that skews it as a particular candidate. The strangest outcome that could come is that they both hit 269 electoral votes, and at that point it comes down to a vote of which probably he would win. So right now it is looking like Trump is going to take about 273 electoral votes and Clinton will get 263. So we'll see. Unless something absolutely crazy happens in the next 2 hours.
That's what is that how you're signing off of what you're calling though?
Yes, I think it's pretty
comfortable calling
I'm pretty comfortable calling it as that's what it looks like it's going to be. I'm going to be stocking up on rum.
Okay. Well, again, not all too political here, too much here tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to have a brief after show where we'll probably talk about some other completely random topics, some of which will involve disc golf, some probably won't, but it'll be a number of random topics that we can talk about. I'll interact more with what we're finding on the message board where we can see what you guys had to say and answer some questions directly that came in off of there. So for Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, this has been Election Night, our podcast number. Look at that. It's a podcast 118 on 11/8. So it looks like 118.
That's cool. And next week,
holy cow!
That's pretty cool. And next week we'll probably be like slightly celebrating our 2-year anniversary.
It's our anniversary. Tony will log in. They're probably available. We could probably get them cheap.
we could do a Kickstarter and get them for sure.
I don't think we'd need
Maybe
that.
just Tony. I think that third Tony, he's holding out.
We could probably send pizza to them, and that would be enough payment to get them on to join us. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us on podcast 118. Stick around. We're going to have a brief and random and crazy after show. We'll see you next week or later in the after show when you step inside the Smash Box.
Hey, all right. Whoa. There was something weird going on. Literally, I was clicking on the thing to cut us over, and it kept going to a blank screen.
I normally don't believe most of the BS you give me,
but
this time I saw.
But you were watching it, like when we're trying. I'm getting a little worried, like I can't click back. So ultimately,
the end of the world is coming already. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I believe.
Right,
I believe. It took me a little more while to wipe up these tears that I think I have, but
all right. Well, welcome everyone. This is of course Smashbox TV's 118th episodes after show. And it is election night here, 2016. As we wrapped up the regular show, Johnny, all but unofficially, and anything can change.
Yep.
Here we are. It's almost exactly 10:30 p.m. Central Time as we're starting the show here. But Johnny, as we wrapped up the show, basically from all the reputable sources online, because there's a lot of those, has come to the conclusion that Donald Trump is in fact going to be ultimately the victor here in our presidential election. And here we are for the after show. We're just going to go off the cuff as we usually do, talk a little bit about disc golf, and hopefully do plenty of interacting with you guys as we see you out on the YouTube message board. We saw a little bit of action out on the Facebook message board, but we ignore that.
Yeah.
Kind of by design, just so that we can all look in a central location. So
yeah, someone says they're surprised we don't get up for a quick bathroom break. We usually take care of that right before we get on.
Yeah.
So, and this is only an hour and a half. I could see that in one of our 4-hour broadcasts. But no bathroom breaks. I should have got up and got a refill. Unfortunately, Joe Boo, not around.
No. So what? Now I'm getting corrected from. Oh man!
What?
I'm getting corrected. Phoenix Ruger Redbird has chimed in saying they are going across the road for the 6 holes on the second round for Open and Advanced. I'm not about to tell an 11th iteration tournament, 11th year tournament how to do things, but
I'm just kidding. Well, it'll be at least it gets to play.
So
in my favorite
for
hole.
those, just to bring this full circle, as we closed out our regular show, we were also talking about how I'm elated to go cover the Phoenix Ladies Open taking place in Phoenix. So clever. Taking place in Phoenix this upcoming weekend. And then I also, did I pander? Begged? I begged for anyone that wants to support it. As of right now, it's fully on my own dime to fly out there and to stay out there and to do what I'm going to do. Generously, I've seen a little bit of support come in from Spinners on the Green. Thank you to those guys. And also Mike Cousins over at Sandy Point Resort. Those are the first 2 that had stepped up in any capacity. But if you want to support women's coverage, women's disc golf, and what I'm going to be doing over there, you're welcome to. If not, I'm going to do it anyway. So super glad and excited to be doing that this weekend. So that's some of the conversation taking place. And Stephen Osmond's onto the right track. He says Miller and Dodge for 2020.
I'd be all right with that.
That would be hilarious.
Well, Dodge is a very analytical guy, very smart. You're more gregarious and social, more outgoing. I could totally see that happening.
That would be hilarious.
So
and scary all at the same time.
I'm not saying that we would become a third world nation.
Scary.
I'm just
question all the way from Australia. I think Nathan Lee has chimed in. Good to see from you, Nathan. I think you underwent some kind of recent mishap or illness or something, so you're apparently doing well enough that you're here and on board with the podcast, so we love seeing that. He said, who's going to have a bigger 2017? Bradley Williams or Josh Anthon? And that's a very good question.
Well,
but I think it's I don't think maybe it's not a good question.
No,
because
Bradley, I don't think Bradley can play in 2017.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
unless something happens with an appeal, and so you almost have to go Josh Anton, assuming he plays one event.
Yeah, so maybe it's not a good question, but let's make it a good question again. Say 2018?
Let's make this question great again.
No, and maybe that's not fair either, because if Josh gets back into playing for 2017, the questions, it
would be
it changes.
The 2018 question is
the
where
dynamic changes. I think he's basically saying, is Bradley going to be big or is Anthon? And
I think that's a flip a coin.
Okay.
Honestly, I think that's a 50-50 shot. I don't believe either one has a leg up on the other. Anton is just such a naturally gifted player, and Bradley Williams is super smooth and puts in a lot of time and effort and is very good. So I can't even speculate.
I'm going to say Anthon in 2017, though.
Me too.
It's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting to see Josh Anthon, his skill sets and the demeanor and the tone in which he's always taken it very seriously. He's always been an insanely fierce competitor, literally one throw away from winning the World Championships in 2009 when he went to this epic playoff with Avery Jenkins. So, and we've seen him, battle so hard at so many other events, including the USDGC, where he's come up just short. And Yeah, we'll see what Josh Anthony brings. Right now, I know he's enjoying time with his wife and with his little guy, and excited to see what happens in 2017 for Josh. Ronald Harkey chimes in with relation to the political news that out-of-country airline tickets have increased substantially. Will Brad play unsanctioned? He probably will. If he can find an unsanctioned event, that
Well, and what
I would assume he would.
I was gonna say, what we're gonna see tonight is we're gonna see Trump win the Electoral College but lose the popular vote. So that's an interesting. It's happened before.
Yeah, four times.
Couple times before.
I think I read.
We
4 times.
we saw it in the 2000. I believe it was the 2000 election with Bush and Gore.
Yep.
So this is not uncommon, but yeah, kind of interesting. And we're living in interesting times, and we'll see how this pans out the next couple of years.
Jeremiah Miraz had asked. He saw a video or asked if we had talked about the SoCal Championships. We really didn't have any insider info or details about it, so I can't say that we talked about that. We did talk about the Shark Tooth during the regular one, recognizing Drew Gibson winning in Final Hole Fanatics or Final Hole Madness, taking an eagle over Steve Rico to win in regulation at the Shark Tooth. So congrats to Drew Gibson for doing that. And yes, Carver, Josh has been out playing, and he's certainly been around. He's training like Rocky in Russia against Drago. Disc golf in Australia. That comes with a question mark from Mako. We talked about it in the regular show. The Aussie Open is happening January 26th through the 29th. Disc Golf World Tour event, and then we kind of talked about participation, and we'll see how that all unfolds. It's a couple months out, so not too much we can say about that. Trevor Hook is joining us here and late. Trevor's been out. I don't know. I only have silly, inappropriate jokes, and I don't know Trevor. So yeah, if you guys would like to interact, let us know what's going on, what's on your mind. Maybe ask some questions. Johnny V's keeping an eye on all of the webs.
It's really hard to see it through the tiers.
It's all the webs here, as we're seeing more and more results come pouring in, and without taking this too political, it was this very basement one night. We were having a conversation, and this must have been early on. This was well over a year ago.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Well over a year ago. And I think maybe Trump had maybe even just announced that he was running.
Yeah.
I mean, it was definitely early on. And I just said something to the effect of, like, it's just crazy or whatever. It wasn't even geared or pointed in any specific favor or displeasure or otherwise, whatever. It was just a statement, and you had said, "Yeah, right. There's no way."
I did say that.
There's no way you didn't even think he'd get.
I didn't think he'd get past the primaries, and then.
Well, you weren't even at that time. I wish we had it, but I think you didn't even think he would become, in any way, the delegate.
No, that's what I said. I didn't think he'd get past the primaries.
Okay.
Just thinking like, this guy he's doing it for attention, this and that. And then he clearly stirred something in a lot of. I think it's a combination of two things. I think he stirred a lot of things with some voters who felt like their voice wasn't being heard, similar to what Barack Obama did 8 years ago. And Hillary Clinton, and I mean, they both have a huge, huge disapproval rating. And Hillary Clinton couldn't get out her base. She couldn't get out enough voters to vote for her, clearly. And on top of that, if you want to throw it in there, because there was such a big negative between the two of them, it really opened up a little bit of that third-party voting. And you're seeing that's might be the difference in Florida. That could be the difference in one or two states, which would have flipped it possibly Democratic. I know that depends which way those third-party voters go. You can't say they're going to go one way or the other because I don't know. So I wrote him off for the primaries, and then he got to the election, and I thought,
there's no way he's going to win.
I don't think he's going to win, especially after everything he'd said. And I think, again, what really turned it was, as I told you right before, about a week and a half ago with the FBI emails, with the way they announced it. I think that had a big influence because you saw her approval rating just drop. You saw her percentages drop, and then they came out 2 days ago or 3 days ago and said, "Oh yeah, there's really nothing in there. Sorry, we did that. Damage had been done." So
Yeah, definitely crazy.
it's totally crazy. So you know what else is crazy and strange? Doctor Strange, which I saw this weekend. Great movie. Even
No.
yes,
no,
a
not
great
movie.
a great
Will
movie.
I like it? Would I like it?
I don't think so. You're not a superhero person,
Nah,
though. And this isn't even really a super. It's not superhero. It's more magic, which is kind of silly. It's the same concept. Superhero, whatever. He has extra powers. It was really good though because it wasn't as most Marvel movies have a pretty clear formula. Bad guy comes, bad guy gets thing. Good guys have to take thing away from bad guy.
Yeah.
Pretty standard in all of them. This was a little different, and there was no real big, final fight scene between the one main good guy and the one main bad guy. It had some really cool concepts. It was a little trippy at times. I saw it in 3D. I really enjoyed it. It's probably my third or fourth favorite Marvel movie, behind Guardians of the Galaxy, the original Avengers, Captain America Civil War, probably, or maybe Winter Soldier. I don't know, but it's right up there, and it was just all around a good movie, I think. And I don't think you would like it because, again, it's not in your wheelhouse. But if you're into this type of genre movie, well worth it. And I'm really loving Westworld on HBO, which I think is really good. It's a little slow, but ultimately I think it's starting to do a lot of, and starting to come up with a lot of questions and starting to slowly give answers. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I've seen a ton of people posting about it. I'm assuming it's good because I've seen a ton of people.
Strange or Westworld?
Strange.
Okay.
Lots of people seem to really be enjoying it, and as you said, it's just not. Yeah, a good way to put it. It's not necessarily in my wheelhouse. Considering every one of those movies you just named, I don't even know if I recognize most of the names.
I mean, you know the superhero. Like, you could pick out Captain America versus Thor versus Iron Man, I bet.
I think I could.
I'm sure you could, but I understand you not enjoying those movies.
Yeah.
I get that.
So apparently, in true presidential square-off form, people are asking about one player versus another, or we just said Bradley versus, say, Bradley Williams versus Anton Felberg, and Simon and Anton in 2017. There's a lot of questions to be answered there. And someone said a moment ago, will Simon dominate in a healthy 2017? I don't think he'll dominate. I don't think that is as
I'd be surprised to see him before. I'd be surprised to see him before April. It's
I'm not even questioning necessarily, when he comes back, but just in general, I think it's so hard to dominate. And for a guy who took a year off or was hampered by having a year off, I don't think he'll come back and dominate in a year. It's tough enough to dominate in perfect condition and perfect situations. I think it's all but impossible to come back and dominate when you've barely been able to do this for the last year or so or more. So I don't think we'll see a dominant. We'll see a great Simon. We'll see a really good or a great winning Simon, possibly, but we're not going to see a dominant Simon. I don't think he's going to come back bionic and all of a sudden do things that he could never do before. Kyle out on the board says Hacksaw Ridge was great.
I heard it. Yeah, I heard that looked pretty good.
Jeremiah's breaking down some form and some questions, saying they said American form has a bend in the elbow and the Euro throw with stiff swinging pendulum style. They certainly have things dialed in overseas, usually a little bit better than we do when it comes to some of our distance throwers, that's for sure. Anton, and then someone else says Anton takes over compared to Simon and Felberg, in Frank's opinion. I'd go along with that because I think Anton, of the three, is going to have this off season to prepare and to get. He's going to be a little bit more fresh in the disc golf sense. Simon's going to be coming off injury. Felberg's coming off injury and recovery as well. I would have no problem going along with that, saying that that's what we might see out of out of Josh Anthon. At this rate, Dave may have to start the year with a major. Anyone try RPM discs?
No. But the one
I'd go as far as saying I'm not even familiar with RPM discs.
No, but the one thing I've been seeing a ton of over the past 2 to 3 weeks is PP360, the perfect putt. Basically, it's an app on your phone that's that gives you sets up putting practice.
Yes, it's actually been around for a while.
But it's funny because in the past, I'd say 2 to 3 weeks, I've just seen a lot of people posting. I know it's been around for a while, but for whatever reason, and maybe because of the off season now, and more people are just kind of getting to a practice routine, I've been seeing a lot more posts about it. You know, people talking about it, showing their results from week to week, things of that nature. So it's something I kind of want to try, but I won't, just because we're getting into winter and I'm not going to set up a basket outside, and I'm probably not going to go. But I do think it's kind of if this is the practice app to have. Mm-hmm. I'd be curious about it. I mean, just in general, why it suddenly kind of seemed to take off in popularity.
Frank says that the 1025 putting game is an awesome app, which I can't say that I've heard of or sought out myself. That's enough free plugs that we're given for apps tonight. No, just kidding. Remo says that everyone should check out the Jilly putting game. Jyly? JYLY putting game? Yeah, I'm not familiar with it, unfortunately. All right. What else do we got for after show action? Got any brilliant ideas?
No, I don't actually. I don't really have a lot of input right now.
Fair enough. Again, as a quick recap for that may or may not have also listened to the show, Paul Ulire wasn't necessarily available to us. I'm going to quickly recheck. We had a traveling Zoe Andike who was trying to get around. Actually, I do have an update. She said she just got done eating. She forgot that she doesn't have her laptop with her, so she doesn't have a way to make it happen.
All right, well, maybe next week.
And her and I will have a quick deal. Her and I will have a conversation tomorrow regarding the Phoenix Ladies Open. All right, sounds good there. And then next week we'll have our picks in for the Piney Woods, which is the PDGA A-tier event. We had Steven Story, the tournament director, on last week and had him talking all about it. I know there are registration slots still available in that, so if you want to go play some sweet disc golf in Texas, make sure that you go check that out. And yes, Phoenix, as you said, no Zoe, no Yuli. Happy birthday to Nathan Lee's wife, Carms. Happy birthday, her 40th. I would have said her 30th again. But
we give enough plugs to Dee Dee, but I thought it'd be kind of, I don't know if everyone saw this, the Chocolate Truth. It's out there. It's basically, they've got a really cool video out there. The Granada, I believe it's the Granada chocolate. Sweet Granada. Showing how they make it. Mm-hmm. It's basically a disc, a mold of a disc. I think it's a little thinner, but made of chocolate, which is really, it looks great.
Combining my two true passions.
If they could just get me a giant marshmallow and a giant graham cracker, I would be set.
Yes.
But it looks really cool. So go ahead and take a look out there. It's perfect for, a golfer that maybe has a sweet tooth that But I just thought I'd give a plug for it because I'm scrolling through Facebook and I saw some.
Yeah, and I know they're talking about making those available to the rest of the world. I believe team members, some of them got their hands on them early, like in the last week or two. And so it is definitely a very cool idea. A, I'm excited to hear how much they cost, and B, because of the nature of my hoarding, I'll probably get one and then never eat it. Maybe I'll get two.
Yeah, but how are you going to store it? You're going to keep it in your fridge for your whole life or a freezer?
No, I mean,
if it goes in your storage, it's going to melt.
In certain areas, it would melt.
No, I don't care where it is.
It wouldn't melt in my house.
If it's just sitting on a shelf, I bet you on some warm day, it's going to melt.
Well, it doesn't get that hot in my house. I have air conditioning.
I know, but you don't keep it on all the time. When you leave the house, you turn that crap off and you let it. I'm just saying at some point, as cool as it would be to have one of these and store one, like I think I could get one and put it in my freezer because I have a chest freezer here that I could just stuff it way at the bottom and never think about it for 6 years,
sure.
There's probably a sack of peas in there that's in there for 6 years for all I know. I only go after what's on the top. It's usually frozen pizzas. But for you who that would take up space in your fridge or freezer. You don't have something like that. So I don't know how you would particularly store that. I think at some point it would melt. It would get hot in your house and it would probably melt somehow.
I don't think chocolate. It would never get that hot in my house.
Yeah.
Where chocolate would melt.
I'm not saying it's going to turn to liquid, but I'm going to say it's going to get gooey and sticky, and I think it will. I think at some point you're going to leave the house and, you're going to yell at your wife like, how come you left the air conditioner on all day? You don't only need it on from, you can have it set to turn on at 4 o'clock if you're going to be home at 5. And from like 1 to 3, it's going to get to be about, it does sound a lot like you.
Yeah.
It's going to get to be like 90 degrees outside, and your apartment, your condo is going to get hot. And I bet you it's not going to stay. You can try. By all means, buy one, support them, and try. But, of course, you'll never know because you'll never open it. So
exactly.
So you'll always have it. It's kind of like Schrodinger's cat. Like, you don't want to open it because you don't want to know if it's dead. As long as it's closed, you can justifiably say, I don't know
I
about
assume
it.
it's in mint condition.
Exactly.
Maybe they should make it in mint for me.
Ooh, that would be kind of yummy.
I don't really like mint chocolate stuff. That's disgusting. And some people definitely want some sent to them. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, and then we've seen some more commercials as they're working on getting their ultimate disc, the Aviator, put out there. So good stuff by DD. Yeah, they're definitely not shy when it comes to pushing the envelope in cool and unique items, and a full-blown chocolate disc with your logo and your information on it, I think is something that we haven't really seen too much of before. It's pretty awesome. So congrats to them and all the sweet action that they're doing. And I do mean sweet action. Yeah. Guys, we need a little feedback from you as to if there's anything else you need us to talk about here tonight or cover. I saw Scott Stokely put up a video. He was at one point wearing a shirt and a tie.
He's talking about turbo putting.
So his turbo putt video was while he was in a shirt and tie?
Yes. I briefly skipped through it, and I saw he was showing more or less to put your knuckle underneath on the inside to give yourself more support so you can turn in any which direction, which will give you better. Not the way, I've done it like that. I prefer having all 4 fingers behind. And then,
but he was in shirt and tie.
He was. Because I think
he was going to an interview or something?
Going or just came from or crying about an interview. I don't know. That guy, he's all over the board. I don't know what. I was thinking this.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Johnny was thinking this, folks.
This
should be a segment. I was thinking. Johnny was thinking.
So, and I don't know Scott Stokely that well particularly.
Okay.
He was saying, do you know anyone that needs a guy, more or less? I'm looking for a job.
Yeah.
For what? Like, what skills? A lot of these golfers, and I say that about anybody. I would say that about. Maybe a Yuli or a Page or anybody that has dedicated their life to disc golf. If something doesn't pan out, and you run the risk of this of any pro athlete, any college football player that maybe has dedicated their life to the sport, or they blow out a knee suddenly, like, what skills do they have outside of disc golf? I worry about that for these players. Because as we saw with, like, you and I grew up around, and I think we've talked about this, we grew up around Barry. And Barry had a full-time job, and he did disc golf on the weekends. When he quit his full-time job and began touring, I think there was always that thing in the back of his head that said, I'm going to be there when this hits big. I'm going to be there when this, and it never did. Because we're still at where we were at, mostly where we were at as far as pros go 15, 20 years ago. Like, and I saw that, and that brings up, because I saw Drew Gibson, he went out and he's selling cars. He's a car salesman.
Mm-hmm.
So, awesome. That's something like that gives you good experience. I just wonder if, some of these players that are hopefully like Ricky, probably doesn't, Ricky, Paul, maybe even Paige, I don't know. They probably don't need jobs over the summer because they can support themselves year round. But there are a lot of our players that can't do that. And I wonder what they do. Like, do they just go find a part-time job, selling cars, slinging burgers, finding just a general part-time job, delivering subs? I don't know. And it just kind of makes me think like a Stokely who's, in his mid-40s or early 40s. Now he's looking for a job. What is he looking for? What type of job?
I'd like to know what he's looking for. I think.
What does he think he's qualified for?
I was going to just say, I think, to be very clear, I think all of those people have individual qualities that they would make great. They would be great at doing individual things. I think of you mentioned a Page and a Yuli. Like immediately when I think of a Yuli specifically, I think of the vast amount of athleticism that he has and the amount of sports and activities that he's participated in. He would have no problem getting into, and he's personable and charismatic and everything else. He'd have no problem getting into any kind of one-on-one training and or group instruction or anything like that when it came to
disc golf,
basketball.
No,
you don't think so?
I don't think so.
Wow, I
can't
wait till he beats your face in.
I'm not saying.
I think you'd be.
I'm not saying he's bad at basketball. I'm not saying that. But
I'm not saying that too. You don't think Paul Ulibarri could go to the local high school, go to the local park and rec department or whatever, and apply for and earn a job as a basketball coach or a basketball training camp instructor?
I don't know what his experience.
Because I do.
I don't know what his experience is in high school. If maybe if he was on the high school basketball team, sure.
Okay.
Maybe then he could do something like that. Say, oh, I'd like to run a summer program through the rec department. That could happen. Sure. But if he didn't play basketball in high school, who's going to take him seriously? Oh, what? You're good at basketball because you play a lot? Great. So are 100 other people on the court right now, but you have no experience in teaching. That's the problem, is that they don't have a background in teaching, which always helps get those type of positions. And granted, everyone has to start somewhere, and maybe he could take that step and get that type of position. It helps that he's probably one of our better known disc golfers. He would be better off doing, rather than trying to do that for basketball, do that for disc golf, a rec department job for disc golf.
I was thinking outside of our sport.
But yeah, exactly. I was thinking the same thing too, outside of the sport. If I just, again, I'm that type of person where that worries me about some of these players, and I've talked about it 1,000 times. Things like their retirement plans, and I'm a weirdo when it comes to things like that.
Well,
I'm way more thinking about the future. And I always look at these people, and not that they're not thinking about the future, but I think they're living more in the present.
Correct.
Which is great. We live two different lives.
Yeah,
and I'm happy for them because they are doing things that I will never get to do. But
there is no doubt there is a vast amount of security that they are giving up for their present day experiences.
Of course.
And I think that's all that it comes down to.
And agree. I think you and I have talked about this off the air too. And yeah, they're living in the now and either hoping something pans out for them or just assuming that, like, well, if this doesn't pan out for me by the time I'm X, then I get into the workforce and do something. And I just think that's tough. Like if I was,
but it's also, bigger risk, bigger reward.
Possibly, yeah.
Because they, unlike you, could sign.
Yep, they could sign a contract,
a $500,000 a year contract,
a sponsorship deal. You're right; they could do all of that. You're exactly right. And the problem I have, and it has to start somewhere. Obviously, is I look at the history of our sport and I see,
well, sure,
like that's what a lot of people thought. Unless you're, Ken Climo, Paul Macbeth, Ricky Wysocki, or a lot of these people I think are banking on winning a world championship. I think if you win a world championship, you get your name on a disc. You get your name on a disc, you get a portion of each disc sale, and that helps you out. Unless you're a woman. Sorry.
Ouch. Damn.
Hey, disc manufacturers, that's on you. I will say though, I'm excited because I'm going to order some Val Jenkins DOS Starfires.
And you know where you can get those from?
From you?
This guy. I've got some.
Is there somewhere else I can get them?
Nope. Nobody else sells them. They're all out.
No, so I'm excited to order some of those because I want to support Val. Obviously, she gets that, but that's what I see. Unless they kind of, it almost seems like you have to win a world championship if you want to be financially stable in this sport, and there's only one a year.
Yeah.
Because I don't care if you win every other major.
It's not the same.
It's not the same as that world. As much as people say USDGC is more prestigious, you really don't get your name on a disc unless you win worlds. And I think, and that's what worries me personally. And trust me, it doesn't keep me up at night.
There's going to be a signature disc golf guy disc soon. So, and I didn't win it though, so I'm gonna just start doing it, and then I'll be financially sound, stable.
Yeah.
Set. Is that what you said? One of those. I'll just put my own name on a disc. Darn it. So, yeah, clearly, I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're selling a few of them a little short. I'm not saying that everybody has a phenomenal backup plan or a plan B, but I think
virtually none of them have a backup plan.
I think
and I'm not saying they need one.
Yeah, I think they're a secondary plan isn't as far-fetched as you think it is. Well, why don't you just go out and root for a bunch of them to fail, and then we'll find out. Those will be our test cases.
No,
that's what you're saying.
That's
what Johnny V is saying it right here, right now. He hopes.
No, trust me. I want them all to succeed because that helps Smashbox succeed, and that puts money in my pocket in the sometime in like the next 10 years.
Yeah.
So I want them to succeed. I want to help them get better. I just worry that we've plateaued for the last 5 to 10 to 15 years, and that there isn't that spike for most of them or whatnot. That's what I think about and worry about for some of these players.
Well, and a lot of chat coming in off the board, people talking about Avery. Someone said he's lucky about the World Tour gig. I don't think that's luck.
That's not luck.
No, Avery's put in many years.
Avery's a college graduate. He is
even without that, but
he's a world champion. He's put in a lot of years.
He's a world champion with a ton of knowledge that can speak well on camera. None of that's luck.
That's not luck.
You get a bump because you're a world champ and you also are already in the right circles.
He's well traveled. He's gregarious. He
none
knows
of that's
people.
Luck.
That's not luck. That's him putting in the time. And a lot of these guys are putting in the time, but there is not a. Sometimes it's right time, right place. Avery, no offense to Avery hit his peak at the right time and realized that he was probably starting to decline or couldn't keep up with the younger players. So it made sense for him to transition into being behind the scenes, not being on the course as much. So he's in the right place at the right time, and he's put himself in that position.
Just like me? No. I'm glad I got out when I did.
You peaked. You for sure peaked. I'm not going to say you didn't.
Okay. All right. You said what you said. I got you.
No. I mean, there's nothing about what Avery's doing is luck.
No, for sure not. And so to further the point, though, people have talked about the clinics that he's done and said that they enjoyed the clinics. Someone also said that they really enjoyed clinics and such that they've done with Nate Sexton.
Yeah.
One could say the same of Dave Felberg, Philo. Greg Barsby, a lot of our players, and I firmly believe just because you're good at our sport doesn't mean you can teach it. I completely agree with that. Paul Macbeth goes to the McBeast challenges, and he lets Nate do most of the talking because he says it himself. He said Nate's a really good instructor, and as Paul may or was or is the best player in the world, he doesn't feel like he's the best instructor in the world, and there's nothing wrong with that, and Paul recognizes that. That's not to say he's bad. He just isn't as good. He says he's not as good as Nate. So nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Paul Roberts on the board says maybe Terry can be the first commentator to peak and then go into competition and win a championship. Now there's a route.
Maybe what he's saying is maybe you haven't peaked yet.
He's peaked. Trust me. Peak and then go. I could re-peak. Peak and re-peak.
The
boat.
The rare re-peak.
I
think this is funny. Someone put on there, Hillary blew the 3-1 lead.
Ouch. Yeah. And again, more people talk about Nate and Nate Sexton and Nate Sexton and then Dave Felberg being great instructors. And again, there's exceptional instructors, and then there's good ones, there's bad ones, whatever. No matter how good or bad anyone is, you have to, pick out a little piece. I think you'll always be able to pick out a little something. So someone may not captivate and thoroughly instruct you for a full 55 out of 60 minutes, but I guarantee you, even if they're the worst of worst instructors, there's going to be a nugget in there of something that you can take away from it for sure, even if you don't think whomever is the best possible instructor. So... and I've seen a lot of people take a lot of different clinics, and it's funny, as a guy who used to give a lot of clinics, and I've done a lot of demonstrations ranging from an entire Boy or Girl Scout troop all the way to teaching a college class for disc golf. every instructor has their different style, has their different analogies. When I was sitting and listening to Dave Feldberg's instruction in Colorado a few weeks ago, I was like, just something he said that I either may steal or borrow and repeat, or there's things that I'll admit I just completely disagreed with the way he explained something, whatever it was. And I just, in my head, I was like, no, that's not. Or I watched Matt House, who I love to death and thinks an amazing guy. But when I saw his live feed a few weeks ago, he was teaching a bunch of kids out of school, at an elementary school, and I love it. But I think the first thing I heard him say when I came in is like, all right, well, that's how you throw an overhand. And I was just like to me, an overhand is one of the last things I teach because I worry.
An overhand is
it's more of a specialty shot.
Yeah, I would never teach that.
And it seems like a good way to blow out a kid's arm.
In like an intro class. That's something that if you took let's say a 10-week class, that's what you talk about week 10. Like, oh, here's a bunch of crazy shots you can do. You can do a forehand roller, a tomahawk, a grenade. Like, these are shots that you use to get out of trouble, or a specific type of throw that maybe you can't throw backhand.
Sure.
I would never teach that in like a 1 hour.
And again,
it
could, for all I know, it could have been in on the 10th hour. I don't know what it was, but I know when I clicked on it, he was teaching. And what matters is he has, this whole school full of kids in front of him that are just jacked about playing disc golf. But I thought that's what I heard him say, something like, "Oh, and this is, and you flip it over, and this is a 2-finger overhand," and it's just, to me as an instructor, my personal way of doing about it is, as Johnny just said, that'd be one of the last things I'd ever reference, only because I'm more worried about their safety or I feel like it's a little bit more of a novelty / trick shot or something along those lines. But again, every instructor teaches a little bit differently, and that's what's great. I also don't have the looks that Matt House does. I don't know if you've noticed. He's dreamy.
That's what I hear. You keep saying it.
You don't
off the air.
Don't tell me. Oh, that's what I hear.
We turn off the podcast, and you're like, "Wow, Matt House." It's really weird.
I don't think it's that weird.
In cartoons, I see like these little heart eyes. Mm-hmm. I never thought I'd see it in person, but
yeah. Anyway, a little more action coming in. Steve Osmond on the board says Wisconsin and Michigan takes Trump to 270.
Yeah, it's over. The minute he took Florida and Ohio, it was over. In fact, he might take Pennsylvania too, which is kind of crazy because right now most of the big city vote in Pennsylvania is already counted, and they're still counting some rural areas. And even though she has a small lead, I think right now that's going to go away very shortly, and I think he's going to take it. This is pretty crazy.
Okay,
and I saw a graph that, and this, give her what it is, that he turned out the white vote like huge, as far as bigger than what
is that an official term? Huge.
He turned it out huge numbers. Rural white vote was off the charts for him. Minority and things like that, not so much. Go figure. But he got his people out more than Hillary Clinton did. So. Well, it's true. She has people. He has people. Everyone kind of has.
We all got peeps. We all got peeps. Or
so.
Smashies.
Yeah.
Ron Harkey chimes in on the board saying it seems some of the top pros do contradict each other when you watch, and I believe they probably do because again they all use slightly different terminology and have a slightly different way of arriving at what they're trying to convey. So it very much could look like one is outright contradicting another. I would totally agree with that. And that's why I love listening to them give their clinics, because I feel like they all have their various positive nuances and their little ways of going about it in what they're trying to convey and get across. Waisaki has great info. His teaching approach will get better as the years go by, for sure. And I mean, he's talked about that before, that he has gotten more comfortable not only on camera, but in front of crowds, in front of people. And I think you're going to see him continue to develop and get a little bit better as time goes on, most certainly. Carver says that they need a lesson bad. Yep, go out and hunt down one of our top pros in a polite way, and offer to pay them. And more, some of them may do it free, but a little financial gesture will go a long way in terms of getting a private lesson. And again, not even all of them I've talked to Nate Doss. He'll help out someone occasionally. He's one of those guys who kind of feels like, just instructing is not my thing. He doesn't get as excited about it as some of our other top pros do, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not it's just a personal preference, and he feels like there might be other people that are a little more suited for it, even though he's obviously one of the best. All right, can you putt? Disc Golf says, gotta get up at 6 a.m. Eastern time. I feel sorry for you. Have a good night. Jeremiah says,
I'm up an hour after you, buddy.
The Pro Tour
Central Time.
Excuse me, the Pro Tour card deck. Opinions, $50 price point.
Is that what it is? Is it $50 for a deck of cards?
Well, they're trading. There's trading cards.
Like not like a dealing card.
Well, there's both. I
it?
believe are being released.
Oh,
yes,
is it? Okay.
Have been.
That's a lot for a deck. Well, it depends.
Trading cards.
The trading cards depends how many there are. Are there
300?
Oh, if it's 3,
no, I'm just kidding. I have no idea.
I was gonna say if it's 300, I think it's a great price point.
Let's go to the store.
I think if it's
which can be found on discgolfprotour.storeenvy.com
or DGPT.
Yep.
.com.
And Pro Tour trading deck 61 common cards, including all 49 men and 12 women that qualified for the Tour Championship. You are guaranteed to get a complete set of 61 cards. Venue cards and champion cards are not in this deck. There are 5 venue cards and 4 champion cards, which are only available in trading card packs. Wow, they're going all out. Like
making it
like you used to buy baseball cards. Get a set and celebrate the inaugural Pro Tour season. Until November 27th, this is a pre-order item. All pre-orders will be shipped in the last week of November.
I think 50 is a little high for the commons.
Just who knows? I mean, we say that,
but if they sell out,
these
clearly,
decks are selling for $200 a deck.
Agreed.
In a few months.
My personal opinion is they feel like it feels like it's a little too high.
I'm
definitely
excited.
I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't know what he paid for them. I don't know what they're going to go for. If they sell out, then clearly they were priced too low. I mean, if they sell it super quick, depending on the number he has. But it's I'm sure I'll get a set. So,
yeah, very interesting. I'm interested to see that. Here's something else that I'm interested in.
Yeah,
I'll stir it up a little.
Ooh, stir the pot, Terry.
Gonna stir it. So the Pro Tour cards are going to be presumably printed in the next 3 weeks.
Your Pro Tour card, as in like you can be on the tour, not the trading cards.
No, the trading cards.
Oh, the trading cards. Okay.
Yeah.
He has too many cards. He's got the Pro Tour card, which is like your player card. He's got the deck of cards apparently, and he's got the trading cards. We need to come up with different monikers for these, but whatever.
So he's got the Pro Tour trading cards. When Johnny, go
ahead and say me.
Johnny Doe is released, and Johnny Doe has sponsor X, but 3 weeks later, Johnny Doe might have sponsor Y.
Doesn't matter. No.
Collectible.
Oh no, I don't think so. I think
I know.
This is like I understand. Like this is, even if they were to be printed in a month and a half.
Okay.
You still print them with what they did, because this is a 2016. You print what they have. So you're right. So if Paul Macbeth suddenly goes over to MVP, you still put him as an in of a player.
Yeah. Okay.
Just because you're setting a set time and date.
I know. And the only thing that really makes me say this is we're just about that at that time in the season.
Agreed.
And I've seen some clothing items be raffled or sold. I've seen some discs sold. I've seen, what I feel is like very stereotypical behavior of people shifting gears. I've seen that on the onlines, on the Facebooks. And I think you just know it's that time of year. And it never used to be a big deal. No one ever really thought about it. But now as we get serious about contracts, as we get serious about players' allegiance and legal considerations, I think it's going to be interesting to see a few shifts that will be taking place. As someone once said, anything can happen in 2016 and it's not over. So I think some things are bound to happen. So anyway, back to the cards. Jeremiah says $50 seems insane. You know what else seemed insane, Jeremiah? Champion Edition Frisbees selling for $14.
Yeah.
In 1999
Because
or the year 2000.
Everything was $9 at that
it
point.
was $7.
Well, it depends.
$8 or 3 for $20, most commonly.
Correct, but I think MSRP
never
was
paid
$9.
$9.
I think
You
MSRP
never.
for DX was like $9,
Never.
but everyone sold them for $7 and
Correct.
$8.
Yeah, I'm just saying. You're right. MSRP may have been $8.99.
Yeah.
You never paid $9
no one
for a
ever
disc.
paid for that.
$8 or 3 for $20 most commonly. That's how I stacked up on hundreds. Yeah, so $14.99, $13.99 for this Champion Edition plastic was insane. I remember picking up a stack of them in Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky. Picking up a stack of them, being like, are you kidding? $15 for a Frisbee? For a disc?
And now
I'd been playing for 5 years at that point.
And now you wish you had bought 1,000 of them.
You're crazy. $15 for a Frisbee. So look where we are today. And I'm not saying $50 is the right price point. Just giving you one example.
Funny stat. The largest the Dow Jones has ever dropped at one point is negative 777. It's currently down negative 793.
So,
my retirement fund is taking a hit, but now is the time to buy.
I was just going to ask.
Buy low because it will recover, especially if you're young. If you have money.
Tomorrow's the day?
Tomorrow's the day.
Somebody's making some real money on some stock trading and buying and such tomorrow?
Yeah, selling short on some stuff. People are making some money.
Okay.
I'm going to take a bunch of cash and put it in probably.
If you need to buy some discs so I can turn that into cash, I can't pay Merrill Lynch. Is that one of them? Yeah. Can't pay them with CE Plastic that I didn't buy enough of in 1999. No. So, yeah, I'll be looking into some those stock things tomorrow too, maybe. When is Paige's contract up? Most contracts, and I cannot speak positively on every single competitor, but most contracts are for the year.
They're annual, so you'll see more. If you're seeing things switch around, it'll be towards the end of the beginning of the year.
Yeah, usually
January.
I don't know if it's all the way till 11/59 on December 31st, but it's typically toward the end of each year. And her contract is up here in the year of 2016. All right. More conversation. Yep. Georgia Disc Golf says Trump is up. Yep, we got that. It's an all foregone conclusion. Those Champion Edition discs are going for crazy dough lately. Got such a grippy kind of fuzzy feel. They certainly do. Send the disc buyers my way, Paul Robert says. Do you guys have an official show announcement lined up for the show? Have the official announcement lined up for the show.
Oh, is he talking about Paige?
Who? Paige Bjerkes?
No. We have nothing lined up for any shows.
No.
We didn't have anything lined up for this show, for crying out loud.
Could you tell? Did you see Paige leaving Prodigy? I know nothing of which you speak. Where can you find the history of the mechanics of engineering of disc golf? That's a great question. Maybe a book or two out there, like Flip Flat Fly Straight, or there's a couple of disc golf books out there that have spoke of I think the history of Frisbee is that Victor Melafonte that wrote that one. Disc golf books. I feel like I own them all, but that doesn't mean I necessarily read them all. There's the Definitive Guide to Disc Golf. I do not know what kind of I don't know what kind of history is included in that one. I am very interested to get my hands on that book, if not for a historical, or at least for historical reasons. It's got a couple of good reviews. I think there's a history of Frisbee. No, Zen and the Art of Disc Golf. I don't know what. I don't know what's all in that in terms of history. Mind Body Disc golf books. Yeah, you'll have to go out and do some looking around. And you can find more information on those. Sorry, I lost my where is our... Sorry, I lost our spot here in terms of...
You know what else is kind of interesting?
No.
So, Back to the Future.
Yeah, being just 1 year off.
Being 1 year off. And then for the Cubs...
Yep.
because they originally predicted 2015, have 2016. Plus, when they go back to 1985, Biff is basically runs the whole city or country, I suppose, because of all the winning. He was based on Donald Trump's character, Biff. Like, you can see it when you look at it. The writers said years ago he was based on a Donald Trump type character, and look at that, we're just a year off of there too. Crazy coincidences.
Yes, and then obviously you saw the whole post, the situation regarding the guy that said the Cubs would win.
Yeah, he said that. But here's what I say about that. I bet you go through Chicago yearbooks.
You find a bunch of those.
You find them for every damn year. Like, I guarantee you look and it says like, oh, next year if they're looking like they can repeat. They have got a good young team. I think they're only possibly going to lose one guy. Someone's gonna dig up your book and says, look, dude, they said 2017, and it's like, oh great,
or someone that said when the Cubs finally do win the World Series, they're gonna win 2 in a row or something.
Well, because that's what they did last time. They won back to back, I believe, in 1908, and then they went 107 or 108 years or whatever. So I just think that's silly.
I read an article talking about the guy that had done that, and he basically said in so many words, for those that don't know, a guy in 1993, put in his yearbook as a senior quote, right underneath his name in his yearbook, said, "The Cubs will win the World Series in 2016. You heard it here first." And I read an article where the guy had basically stated that he had forgotten that he had said it. It was one of his classmates that had come across it or remembered that he had said it, hence dug it out, and then the news story started circulating. This was right as they were getting ready to go into the World Series, and obviously it made news, and it was all around it was everywhere. And then when he was ultimately interviewed now after the World Series, he said, I didn't want to make a big deal of it. I didn't want people talking about it. I didn't want any kind of hubbub or distraction around it whatsoever. That I had said it or whatever. I think he said it came to him in a dream. Is that what he said? But either way, he didn't want it to be any kind of distraction or anything of that nature, and hence it wasn't really brought up, and he didn't do anything major with it until another random and funny side note to just tip off a little more final Cubs celebration. They ate a goat, I think it was today, at Wrigley. Or recently, in the last day.
A goat?
Yeah, like they brought in a
goat
a chef
carcass and cooked one up.
And he prepared. He's apparently I don't know if he's world renowned or city renowned, and he prepared goat meat, and they ate goat at Wrigley.
Okay,
makes
a little weird, but goat's not a thing you normally eat.
So some it will be
in our country at least.
Yes, so I thought that was funny. Taylor from MVP fan page posted in 2010 the Cubs would win in 2016. Very not quite as crazy, but okay. Ronald Harkey, will Smashbox be at Worlds next year, or is it too early to ask? It's not too early to ask, it's too early to know. We would love to have a presence at Worlds next year. Like everywhere else, we always state there's 2 main components. One, always, first and foremost, comes down to signal, and then obviously secondary is a budgetary concern. Budget, I would hope, we had won the bid for that we submitted for the proposal for this last year's Worlds. We figured we're going to triple that because we did a great job. So I'm not as worried budgetary-wise as it comes down to signal. With it taking place partly at the International Disc Golf Center as well as in Augusta, there'll have to be some considerations for where things are wrapping up, where things will be throughout the majority of the week or some of the week. All of those things will get taken into consideration. I've been told countless times that there apparently is really good Verizon signal out at the International Disc Golf Center. I've been told that.
Yeah,
I've never tested it. We've never had our equipment there, so we can't speak to it definitely. But we've been told that there's really good Verizon signal, which is what we mainly rely on. So, possibility. I know from a PDGA perspective, at least the media manager perspective, he feels like live is the place to be, and there needs to be an emphasis on live. I'm sure there'll be a post-production version as well, but there will more than likely be a push to have live at the World Championships. So hopefully that answers your question for you. Steven says, yep, Theo Epstein ate some goat today or yesterday. I saw that.
They have now halted any sort of futures trading because it's down 800 points, and they've just said, nope, we can't have it go down anymore tonight. So they will unfreeze it in the morning.
Wow. So that's when I got to strike.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to get rich.
I got a couple grand sitting in my savings account. I may push it over. It might not be the worst idea in the world.
Tomorrow's going to be huge.
Huge. Well, who knows? It could be another 2 years before it recovers.
Could be 20.
Could be 2 weeks. I'm not a stocks guy. I don't know much about them. I just know put money in them when I'm young.
So, Ronald says, I'm planning to attend Worlds this year, hoping to see you guys. We hope to see you there, Ronald. Make sure you say hi and reach out. Say hi. I hope the USDGC, Frank writes, I hope the USDGC will allow live coverage in 2017. You think karma came around to the event for not allowing live coverage? No, I don't think anything of that nature. We've kind of beat that one to a dead horse as well.
Yep.
There'll be talks about it. And here's what I can tell you for sure. We're going to know way earlier in the year whether or not it's going to happen.
What's happening. Correct.
That's the best way to say that. It very well may happen, and it very well may not happen. But no matter what.
I give it 60-40 not happening.
Okay.
Like, if I had to put odds on it.
Well, you put odds on Hillary winning, too, so.
No, I didn't put any. I didn't bet on it. It's illegal to bet on that, and I was just going according to polling.
I'm just saying. Anyway, who knows if it's going to happen or not. The point is, we'll know much earlier. That is definitely going to happen. That we'll know. Masters Worlds 2, that will be taking place in Michigan. Going to be there for the most competitive Masters tourney in history. That's probably a good way to put it. For those that don't know, they have separated the professional world championships versus the age-protected world championships. So there's going to be, in a sense, two different worlds in that way. It's going to be open men and open women taking place over in Georgia. And then all the age-protected, the Masters, the Grandmasters, so on and so forth, will be taking place in Michigan. And yeah, you're right that this may be the single most competitive because anyone who was on the fence, a Johnny McRae, a Ken Climo, a Barry Schultz, for a few years, a Phil Arthur, they dipped into playing in Open when they could have maybe played Masters. This year, they can make a very concerted effort to either say, I'm going to go play in the Open one and I'll play in Masters, or they may say, I'm just going to go play in the Masters one. So without feeling any other kind of obligation to the Open one. So it very well could be the single most competitive one that we've seen. And looking forward to it. Jeremiah says UC stands by his it's not worth it, and that very well may be the case.
Yeah, who knows?
Yes, you can short the market and make a ton of money, Mako S says.
Well, if you shorted it yesterday, sure, you could have. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow?
And Frank says if there is live coverage for USDGC, he hopes it's us. So do we. Is it me, or are there more pros doing a winter tour this year compared to the past years, or is it that disc golf is more on social media? It's a good question. I'd be curious to know who you mean in particular, because some of our players have always just been active, and yeah, you're right. There may just be more social media for you to know about it, or I think we also see a number of our players migrate to warmer climates, but then play in smaller leveled events. So you don't maybe realize that they're still playing or realize what's going on. But there was a solid field when Drew Gibson and Steve Rico are still competing this last weekend. That may have not been on your map or on your radar in years past, pre-Smashbox podcast. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's exactly your answer. Is we are just seeing there's more coverage and people talking about the fact that there's still stuff happening, even if it is a little bit slower. Clearwater for Coachman Classic this weekend. That's going to be taking place. There you go, Jeremiah, using my word migrating. That's quite possible. I did see event taking place in Canada that it was originally talked about me possibly being at, and it's got a really, really healthy list of some of our better players. And I don't know if those players are truly paid for and committed, or if that's kind of his wish list. And I think of that, it's December 3rd or 4th, and I've talked to them a couple different times about having, possibly some kind of coverage there. But I'm going to take a quick look again. I'm sorry. I saw Madison Walker, and maybe she's going for the experience. I haven't talked to her yet. It's December 3rd and 4th. It's Union presented by Sun Life Financial, and there's also going to be, I know, a fundraiser component attached to it. But when I see Tim Barham, okay, lives in Michigan, hop, skip, and a jump, as some might say. Greg Barsby from California, playing in 30 degrees with some light snow on the ground. I wouldn't bet on it. And then I see Matt Bell, Ziggy Burkhoven. Now, he's from Michigan. I can see him being there. A couple New York players, I can see those. A lot of Ontario and other New York players. And then when I see Zach Melton, and maybe all these guys could have signed up. I'm just speculating. I think some of these might be wishfuls or hopefuls. I see Madison Walker on that list out of Florida. And maybe Madison said, hey, I've never played in 12-degree weather.
What day is it? It's
December 3rd, so it's in a month.
Yeah. I mean, there's no guarantee there's going to be snow there. But
no, there's not. And I've talked to him.
Yeah.
He said that there very well could be a dusting or no snow. It's going to be on a ball golf course.
Or it could be 3 inches.
Or there could be 3 or 4 inches. It doesn't sound like they're likely to have like 12 inches of snow with where they're located due to the lake. But it's held in Union, Ontario, Canada. And that's Colin Fitchett. So I'd be curious. Maybe I'll check in with Colin. That list was also updated almost 2 weeks ago. So maybe, there's something to be said there. Because I think if some of our players are going to play in the quote-unquote winter, they're going to do it in the warmer winter areas, like your Californias. All right. Anything else on the board? Did you already talk about the NorCal team invite? I did not. I didn't know any of the details for that event, so I cannot. I can't speak to any of them. I saw Christy King make a post or two.
Ronald Darkey says, I heard the Canadian immigration website crashed. Sadly, that's probably happening.
Paul Roberts says, seriously, bro, you're wearing a jacket right now indoors, and I don't even own a jacket.
It's kind of a jacket. It's kind of a fleece type.
Yeah, it's more of like a sweatshirt. And today it dipped down in Wisconsin. This was actually appropriate.
It's like high 55 or something.
Kind of blustery, not pleasant out. Like, it's been amazingly gorgeous the last few days, and election day rolls around and it gets gloomy and cold and not pleasant in Wisconsin. All right, Steven, good night. We do appreciate your support.
We're going to be closing this out pretty soon.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up any minute here, too. Is Schuster going to get back on top 5 in the world? He's got some work to do. I think he's got a chance to refocus for next year. I think his now wife, Latricia, is working and doing her thing, and they're not freshly getting married in the upcoming year. And we'll see. Schustrick has struggled with a couple of things in his form, and he knows it, so we don't need to talk about that. But he's got that competitive drive, and he's got all the skill sets to be a champion and then some. So we'll see if he gets back on track to some of the previous successes that we've seen him in the past. It did actually crash, someone says. Not sure about Schustrick, but you never know. That's correct. And good night, Ronald. We do appreciate it. And here at 11:30, can we call it? That's what they say in the biz? We can call it.
Are you talking about calling the podcast?
Calling the podcast, calling the election night.
Yeah,
they say they called it.
It's over.
It's over. Interesting times we live in.
I mean, it's not official, but it's basically official. She has to flip Arizona, which is a red state. She has to get Utah, which is a pinkish, not quite red state. And she has to flip Nevada, I think, and they're not likely.
Okay. All right. Jeremiah, good night. Thanks for joining us as well. Thank you to all of you guys that tuned in. A little bit light on action tonight, and next week will be different. We're going to be celebrating 2 years. Maybe we'll have a big party in here. Celebrating 2 years of our podcast. 11/11 is the official date, which kind of falls between these two separate podcasts. So next Tuesday night, maybe we'll have a giveaway. Let's give some stuff away. It's been 2 years. It's been fun.
It has been.
So we'll give away some free stuff next week. So make sure you tune in. It'll be, if you're live, that's where we love it. It's on the live side. Yeah, Jeremiah loves giveaway. Everyone loves giveaway except for me because they're pain too.
Yeah. That's why
Or
if we get other people to give stuff away, we just have them send it out.
It
Hopefully,
works easier.
Yeah.
All right, so here on election night and the after show of podcast 118 for Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the disc golf guy. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next week when we celebrate 2 years and then some here at Smashbox. We'll see you then when you step inside the Smashbox.
And it's doing the same thing.